Cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't gonna leave. I'ma get right. Get right. Down to the bottom and scratch it for all the...
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up everybody? It's Marcus Grant.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I gotta give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? You want to lose your league?
Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
Best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
And you're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
But I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down, cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right, cause I roll my sleeves.
What up? What up? What up, world? I'm Mike, aka Classic Mike, and this is the Get Right Fantasy Network. It's Friday, August 23rd, and that means there is only 2 more weeks, 13 days until we have the week 1 kickoffs with the Ravens at the Chiefs on September 5th. I cannot wait. I know you guys can either. With that being said, I'm here with both Phil Ruskin, right over here from the Extra Point, as well as Kendall from the Fantasy Football Tavern. What's going on, gentlemen? How you guys doing tonight?
What up? What up? Happy Friday night.
Hey, cheers, everyone at home. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. Tonight, we're going to be observing our semifinal round 4, our final round of our Mock Draft Championship Tournament of Champions. While I get the mock going, I'll tell you a little bit about what's going to be going on. So give me just 2 seconds to pull up this whole thing and get everything started. So like I said, I hope everyone is having a wonderful Friday. We actually have some preseason games going on currently. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But otherwise, let's get this thing started. These guys are waiting patiently. Let me get them going. And away we go. Always got to get that first sound right. So everybody, we're going to get going, and I'm going to talk about our new schedule that's going to be coming up. Right now, we're going to be starting as of September 6th with this new schedule. Right now, we are going to be only Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But after that, after the 6th, we're going to be going 7 days a week. I'm excited. I bet you guys are too. Right now, on Mondays, we're going to have Ann Frank do some recap with you guys and some waivers. It's going to be at 9 p.m. Pacific time, 12 a.m. Eastern. So check them out. It's going to be usually the prior week of, the start of the new week. Then on Tuesdays, we're going to have the one and only Tycoon in the Fantasy Boardroom at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So that's 10 p.m. Eastern. Wednesday, we're going to have Anthony and Rasta. We're going to have Rasta and Frank. And then we're going to have roster management, to help you guys with buy-sell targets and trade stuff. Basically getting your roster set at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern. And then we got our good buddy Phil right here going to be doing his show on the Extra Point. It's going to be at 4 p.m. Pacific prior to the Thursday night game. So make sure you guys check Phil out. Then we're going to have our Friday show. A little different from the past. In the past, we did just one big monster show. Now we're going to do 2. We're going to do one at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be our first show. It's going to be start, sit, game breakdowns. We're going to go through, at least half the games going on. And then we're going to have our second Friday show, which is our West Coast show. We're going to have Anthony and Phil right here going to be doing the 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. And they're going to go through their whole show. Basically, we're going to try to mix it up with a little bit of everything so that, we can get a little bit of everything. We don't want to have it where, we're doing the morning games, they're doing the evening. We're going to mix it all up for you guys and make it so that we have, games to talk about. And then Saturday, we're going to have Cody McGoats, formerly of the Checkdown Podcast. He is now hosting a new show. It's called The Sweet Life Fantasy. It's right here for you guys. Make sure you guys keep an eye out for this particular podcast. He's going to be going Saturdays, so keep an eye out. And then Sunday, I'm going to be back here at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, with actives and inactives, live Q&A, start-sit advice, leading you right up to kickoff. Maybe I'll have one of these two guys join me if they want, if they're awake, or at least, we'll see. Yeah, I was going to say, he ain't going to be awake.
Not me, buddy.
But maybe I can get some other people to join me on that show. But I love doing that with all you guys. So we're going to be here 7 days a week, but I'm excited. I'm just excited for this season to get going. So let's get into our tournament right now. This little mock draft over here, like I said, this is the semifinals. All these guys are the top 3 from our mocks from Monday through Thursday, and they're looking for a chance to get into the best ball draft. I'm excited. Phil, can you tell them a little bit more about our mock draft tournament?
Yeah, so we got this going on. Obviously, going to end with the live stream finale on Friday, August 30th. $50 cash prize to the title of Mock Draft Tournament Champion. Randomized draft spots, 1 mock per week, Monday through Thursday's qualifying rounds. The top 3 of all 4 mocks from the top 12 for that week advance to the Friday semifinal round. That's what you guys are watching right now. And then the top 3 from each of the 4 semifinal rounds, for those that aren't good at math, that's 12. They're going to be considered the best of the best, and they will go into the finale on Friday, August 30th. That mock will be turned into a league and actually played out best ball style for the duration of the season. Like I said, the winner taking home that $50 cash prize and title of Mock Draft Tournament Champion. Rafi 69 Bomb is the reigning champ. FFT AJ 2022 champ, and Lou Camp, aka Lou Champ, first to win it in 2021. So if y'all don't want to miss out, you know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button. Join the sleeper thread where all of these things get posted so you can stay tuned for the mock draft lobbies to open up. Don't worry about the rules. Don't worry about all that. We'll go through everything together with you. What type of a draft is it? Show up on draft day. Draft your team. We know it's going to be a winner. We'll let you know if you advance. No buy-in. $50 first place cash prize.
I love it. Make sure you guys, this is good old Phil's channel right here. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing to his shows. He had one last night with some sleeper picks, so make sure you guys check that out. We got Wicked in the chat going, handsome looking gentleman. Thank you, sir, or gentleman. Yeah, sure. I have no idea.
Well, it's spelled with an A, meaning it's only a singular. I have to assume he's discussing Kendall's look. I have to assume.
Maybe.
Because it doesn't say gentlemen, it says gentleman.
Yeah.
Wicked's a good dude, man. He had a couple
Kendall's
pretty
best dressed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely best dressed. I got my Scott Fishbowl from 2013 on. I think he has the best dress here.
I figured these crushers deserved my attention today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. We got
the real
Dylan
question though is do you have like the elbow pads, the leather elbow pads?
Oh yeah. Do you have like the?
Not on this suit. No.
This is a proper dapper look here.
Look
Oh
at
yeah,
that.
no. This is not the sweatpants underneath the suit. This is
got you.
We're wearing the real stuff right here.
Oh, I hope you're wearing like sweatpants or like shorts under that, because I would freaking be dying right now.
Dude, I gotta tell you, I went down to San Diego a couple years ago. My best friend lives down there, and so we get together all the time and go up to the Bay Area for games. Obviously, we're both Niners fans, but I went down to his spot. I said, "Yo, come pick me up at the airport." And I'm standing outside, and his truck pulls in. And as I'm getting in his truck, this like little Honda Civic pulls in front of us. It's college kids, you know what I mean? Like, and this kid comes running out the airport in Crocs, Lakers basketball shorts, a white button down with a tie. And I was like, that's a Zoom interview right there. I'm like, that fool just took an interview from the airport because you just got to look good from the waist up. That's the new work from home outfit. When you got your Lakers basketball shorts with your not even tucked in, by the way. I mean, just a unbuttoned, the like last four buttons tie. I was like, I hope the kid gets the job, man, because that's awesome. So Kendall, if you've got some Notre Dame basketball shorts or some Bears sweatpants on, it wouldn't surprise me.
I don't have that much Notre Dame gear. I live 15 minutes away from them. I actually work with them from time to time. They're a client, and I don't actually like hang out with the football team or anything like that yet. But believe me, this year in season, I promise you, probably within a month or two, definitely going to have a player or two come on one of the shows. So
that would be awesome.
Yeah, gonna be a good time. So I'm not that big of a deal out here that I can just pull a quarterback. But no, they're really cool community around Notre Dame. To be honest, they're really welcoming, and I can kind of walk on campus since I help them out with stuff. So we'll see. I might show up to practice and see if we can get some live stuff going on.
There you go.
Nice. That's awesome, man. So we got the draft going on right now. We are going to be doing a Superflex, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex mock right now. So as you can see, they're all kind of running through their teams. We've had a couple minutes to kind of chat and look at the mock and see what everybody's doing. Is there anything that stands out to you guys that you've seen? Any real huge things, or is this pretty standard?
It's hard to comment. It's hard to comment. Like, there's things that pop out to me, but I don't want. As soon as I say it, I'm giving such. I was just going to say,
you're giving something away.
Laporta's going pretty late here.
Well, I want to see what DCast does at the 12, right? Like that's. I mean, I know put in the chat like got screwed again at the 12 spot. I don't think the 12 spot's a terrible place to be. I think it makes it challenging to have 22 picks go off the board. And you can say, well, but if you have the 101, 22 picks go off the board. True, but you're starting at the top of the food chain with Josh Allen. So curious to see what his roster looks like with quarterbacks. I mean, it's getting into Derek Carr and Drake May and Sam Darnold territory. So Kirk Cousins, I think, is still available. We'll see what happens over these next 8-9 picks. But
he advanced. I'm just curious. Right?
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like
draft last time that we voted pretty highly across the board. So not a terrible.
And look, if I have to play you in week 1 and I see Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase across the old sleeper app there, I don't like seeing that. I don't want to play against that. So yeah, I love what he's doing from a skill position, but let's see what the quarterbacks end up looking like here as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's talk about that for a minute. So we've just recently got, those ambiguous, quarterback battles that we've been trying to figure out, and 2 of them recently have been declared. I mean, we have the good old Broncos who are going with Bo Nix. We have the Raiders who are going to be going with Gardner Minshew. How do you guys feel about those? Which one of those 2 are you more willing to have if it gets down to it?
Ooh, I like Nix. I like Nix quite a bit. But it has less to do with Nix. More of it has to do with I just trust the coach. It's a coach that has made offense work before. He's played a lot of games in college. He's not going to have, I think, the same rookie jitters that someone with a lot less snaps might have. I think expectations aren't through the roof, so that takes a little bit away. I'm kind of in on Nix in Dynasty, but I'm not opposed to him in redraft. I don't love the wide receiver core, but I do think they can make some things happen. I don't see him as probably a top 12 quarterback this year in fantasy, but I think he could be a pretty reasonable quarterback too. I don't think he has the same like bust potential as like a Levis. He's a little more stable for me in terms of just startable.
Yeah, I mean, I take the other side of it for the exact reason that Kendall said. I like the wide receivers in Las Vegas better. I just, outside of Cortland Sutton, I really don't know what Marvin Mims is. We didn't see enough last year to make me feel like he's really going to take that year 2 leap. I talked about it on the show last night. I just want to clarify one quick thing in case there's listeners tonight that were there last night. I did call Gardner Minshew a sleeper last night, and I realized I forgot to say the most important piece: in Superflex only.
Yeah, there you go.
Because in one quarterback, I want nothing to do with him. I don't want him as my backup at all. But in Superflex, 66 quarterbacks played a game last season. Gardner Minshew is already the starter, and Gardner Minshew was QB 21 last year. So it's not pretty. It's not sexy. It's not Josh Allen. It's not Brock Purdy. It's not Jordan Love. You know what I mean? Like it's Gardner Minshew, right? Minshew mania. But you have Devontae Adams, which makes me feel great. Security blanket. So the same way that we're talking about Sam Darnold supporting Justin Jefferson is really an inverse. Justin Jefferson's going to bring Sam Darnold along versus Sam Darnold supporting Justin Jefferson. I think Devontae Adams is certainly capable of bringing Gardner Minshew along. I think Jacoby Myers is fine. Everyone is excited about Brock Bowers, regardless of what his finish is. He's still going to get or earn targets, and we expect him to turn those into positive yardage plays because he's a monster in the open field. So the simple answer is give me neither of them. But if I have to, I'd prefer Minshew just because I think the offense is slightly better there. The one thing I would say, though, as well for Knicks, if you are the Knicks owner, go grab one of the running backs because Denver targeted the running back position in the air last year, the number one team in the NFL targeting the running backs for pass catching opportunities. So go grab Jaleel McLaughlin, or if you're in on Javonte, get Jaleel McLaughlin late with Bo Nix as a little mini correlation late in the draft.
Okay.
My little drum beat for Javonte is starting. It's starting to look crazy. It's starting to not look super crazy.
I've been on the other side of that drum, beating it with you. I've always been a fan of Javonte. I loved what he showed when he had the opportunity before his injury, and honestly, he looks like he could be something special. I'm a little. He's a year removed from that ACL. He has the opportunity. I know that Sean Payton didn't bring him in, so he's not really his guy. So I know there's a little, there's some controversy with it. But he's going to make the team. He's going to be the starter. They're keeping, they're definitely going to have McLaughlin. It looks like, I think it's Samaje Perine. He's going to be on the out, and it looks like they're going to be, he's going to get cut. And then they're going to have Audric Esme. There we go.
My Notre Dame brother.
I was going to say Notre Dame kid. Yep.
So I mean, they have really good depth at running back, and right now they can definitely be interchanged. So it kind of takes a little bit of pressure off of Javonte to not have to. But I think it's one of those scenarios that now we see with those, that 55-45 type split where he can do a lot with those 45. So I think, 55. So I think at this point, it's one of those things where I like either or. I don't hate the Broncos this year. I think they're going to be serviceable. I think they're going to be able to help because their defense sucks. I think they're going to be a little bit more in games. I don't think they're anything special. So, I mean, their offensive mind with like what Kendall was saying with Sean Payton, I like his whole system. And the one guy I like out of that group is Cortland Sutton. So, and they basically feature the X, and he is the X. I think Bo Nix can really be special. And, we saw a little bit of that in the preseason. I don't want to put everything on that, but he's one of the more seasoned QBs as a rookie. He had 5 years, that he played with Auburn and in Oregon. So he's more, and it's been more of a pro style offense. I think he'll do just fine. He's definitely not someone I'm taking in one QB, but for somebody in a 2 QB league, maybe I'll take the flyer on him. I don't mind him. Gardner.
Here's the real question that I have. The Chiefs are going to run away with this division. Who's finishing second? Who's finishing second?
I think it might be the Chargers.
It's the reason Kendall and I did an activity. Mike, I think you did it with us. Yeah, a couple weeks ago when we were going through the AFC East.
Yeah, when we did that. We did that after the show.
Yeah, we did after the show. So for those that are listening, we stayed on after the show and did who's making the playoffs. But we went through the schedule, and I read out all the games. And these guys, Mike and Kendall, had to go through and say, okay, win, loss, where is it? Oh, away game. Okay, they'll win that one, they'll lose that one, et cetera, et cetera. I think the AFC West is only getting the Chiefs in, which is why I think that the AFC East could potentially get the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills into the playoffs. And we talked about it when we did that little activity. The Jets have the easiest of the 3 teams. They have the easiest schedule.
Oh yeah.
On paper. Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I don't project the Broncos or the Raiders to have anything other than, sadly, a bottom 12 offense. Doesn't mean they still can't produce for fantasy. It just means that if your team is bottom 12, you're probably not scoring more than 20 points, 24 points a game, and that's not getting it done. So it'll be interesting to see where, as we get into next week. This weekend obviously is the big weekend, but as we get into next week and next weekend when the last of the drafts happen, Are there any risers? Are there kind of stabilizing for some of those players that we're talking about on those teams?
Yeah, and we also, from just looking at what they had from last season and what they did in the offseason to kind of improve their roster. I mean, they're doing a little bit they did a little bit on the line, which was the biggest of their issue. Their offensive line was horrible for the Broncos. They definitely improved on that. I think the Raiders on the other end of it, if we're talking about Gardner, they didn't do that. They let go of two of their best options with at left or at right guard and right tackle. So and they let go of their running back coach, which was not running back, O-line coach. So I mean, it's one of those things where they have a little bit of work to do. Gardner, I don't think is. I think Gardner's a flashy name because he had those couple of games where he did well and everybody was on him, and he was just he's a fun personality. He really is. But as a quarterback, he's below average for me. I understand that he has guys like Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers to catch the ball, Brock Bowers as well. So I know that we haven't really gotten to see the Raiders offense. Zamir White, I think, is going to take a lot off of them, but I don't know. I think Denver could actually. I think if they face each other, who's winning? I'm going Denver.
Well, they'll play. I mean, they'll play each other twice.
No, I know. I'm going like right now. I think it could be a 1-1 split.
Yeah, it could be home and home. Yeah, it could be home and home. I don't know. I just find myself a little bit out on Knicks, and I think one of the things I've been trying to do as we get into redraft mode, fully into redraft mode, is just to take like that big step back off of Dynasty to just kind of eliminate some of my bias. Like Kendall, you said it earlier, like I'm kind of in on Knicks in Dynasty. Like I'm with that. That take makes more sense to me. I've got 2-3 years in a system that could get better. They could draft well. They could go and they could go get T. Higgins next year. You know what I mean? Like there's a million things that could happen that they could wind up getting some pieces where you're like, oh, I mean, you remember when they got Russ, it was like we were talking about the AFC West is like, oh, this is about to be the best division in football, right? Herbert had his weapons, and all of a sudden the Broncos get Russell Wilson, and look, it didn't work out. But I just, for one season in a rookie season, I would rather reach for Caleb or reach for Jaden if I have to take one of the rookies, right? Like obviously McCarthy's done for the year. We don't know if Penix, we don't know what his situation's going to be. It's more than likely an injury to get him on the field. But yeah, it's messy in some of those situations. And like I said, I'd rather stay away if I can.
No, of course. And honestly, we're not saying to draft these guys. We just know that you guys are going to be having that particular scenario in your draft. Some teams like to use a scenario that's like for Superflex, it's 0 QB, waiting until the later rounds to find those guys. So that's why I'm bringing it up. I want you guys to get a little bit of our take on it. But at the same time, our suggestion more is to go for that little higher tier for Superflex. You always want that advantage in that type of league. There are many different types of, styles and strategies that you can use in this particular type of format. We all love seeing it. I mean, I know that I love grading these types. I don't know about you guys. It's a little bit easier for me to kind of grade these than 1 QB sometimes. But what's a style that you guys like to gravitate towards when it comes to Superflex? Kendall, what do you think?
It's tough to answer. I feel like I just don't want to skew the draft because I feel like I'm definitely going to jump into it, but I'll try to keep it to takes that generally aren't going to affect this. In Superflex specifically, I've kind of been going a little bit back and forth, if I'm being honest, in my process with Superflex. I've been going back and forth between, do I definitely want 2 solid quarterbacks in a super dart throw 3, right? Or am I comfortable enough at hero quarterback and just taking 2 late ones that I can kind of interchange, whoever's hot, maybe play the matchups, and then get a little more of an edge wherever I would have had that this or then. Or I would have taken more of maybe a 3rd round quarterback instead of go with the skill position. I've been going back and forth on that a little bit. My general plan is usually I don't want to be in a position where I have to take 2 picks late because I can get sniped out of the strategy, and it's just I don't want to risk disaster. Like, in my opinion, in managed leagues, you're not going to win your draft in the draft, but you can lose it. You can put yourself way too far behind in what you have to roster construct. So I'm definitely leaning more towards early quarterback, and then just taking the third at a pretty big value later on. I've got some targets that tend to go a little bit later, and so that kind of what makes that strategy viable for me. I'm a bigger fan of. I think Herbert is a little bit underrated. I know the injury kind of hurt that take for me a little bit, but I'm still not off of it. I'm very big on Stafford this year. I'm starting to rise a little bit on Rodgers. I don't love the ceiling, but I think there's something there. Yeah, just gives me a little more play to it. I think the real strategy for the most part is going to be how you're doing your wide receivers and running backs. I am heavy in on hero RB this year. This is a half PPR format, so I would not go zero RB. I don't love zero RB this year in particular. If I'm being honest, I don't love it. I like it in best ball. I don't love it in managed. I don't think it's a great strategy this year, unless you're in full PPR and you have the ability to start minimum 4 wide receivers. I'd prefer 3 with 2 flexes. That's where I'd start going zero RB. But I think the hero RB is where I'm at. And then I want to avoid the dead zone. My biggest take this year is I don't like the dead zone at running backs, because I think the tier after them is the same thing. And I love the mid-round wide receivers this year. I think there is value on top of value on top of value. And so that's my biggest take.
Okay. What about you, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, look, to me, it's about where you're at in the draft. Obviously, in Superflex, if you're in the first 4, right? If you're in the top third of the draft, you're going to get one of those big quarterbacks. So it's almost impossible to pass on them. If you're in the middle of the draft, I think you kind of got to call your shot.
Yeah.
Right. Am I going to take a quarterback? Or you can see here, we saw CMC go off the board at the 105. Are you going to take one of those skill position guys? And then obviously, if you're at the back end of the draft, then, what are you doing with the values that are going to fall because the quarterbacks get pushed up? And then, like Kendall said, are you risking potentially getting sniped later? So I do think the position that you're drafting from on the board will dictate a little bit of what you're going to, at least who you're going to target. The one thing I'll say that's a little different than Kendall is, I just feel Stafford's the perfect example. I just feel like there is a complete lack of respect for certain quarterbacks when their skill position guys are being drafted in the first round. And to me is like, the correlation doesn't make sense. So like, I understand this is Superflex. Quarterbacks are going to get pushed up the board, but like, I'm trying to find, where's Calvin Ridley in this draft?
Went
in the
8-6.
8th round. In the 8th round. And I assume Hopkins has not been drafted.
I do not see him yet. Hold on, let me double check.
So, like, to me, Will Levis going in the same round as Calvin Ridley, I'm fine with that, right? But like Trevor Lawrence going in the 3rd round, it's super flex. You have to get a guy. I understand that, but to me, it's like the disrespect for Stafford. In single quarterback leagues, I just looked it up. Jared Goff's going in the 10th round.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra is going as the wide receiver 4 or 5 off the board, depending on what's happening with Justin Jefferson right now, because he is dropping a couple spots in ADP. Sam Laporta is going as the highest number 1 tight end in round 3/4. Gibbs is going in the 2nd, 3rd round. Monty, so it's like,
why is Goff going all the way down there?
Who gives them the ball unless they're going to direct snap it to Monty and Gibbs every time? Let them throw. Like, so to me, it's really interesting. Of like, okay, if you're taking Puka at the turn, if you're taking Cooper Kupp early, if you're taking Kyron early, you have to be in on Stafford. You at least have to think he's going to finish as a QB2. So, the direct.
All right, guys.
I almost got a smoke alarm going off there. Man, our takes were too hot for you, Mike.
Oh man, Mike's having a good time over there, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. The last thing I'll just kind of say here is this, though. I know Mike's going to drop. Kendall, you and I can run this. We do this all the time, but I think what's interesting to me is, and you, Kendall, you know this because you've played in leagues with me. We talk about hero RB or anchor wide receiver. I'm almost this year in Superflex taking an anchor quarterback and then moving on. Right, 66 quarterbacks played last year. Like, I'm looking at Jay Baloney 14's here team. Start with Lamar, Bijan and JT, so you've solidified the running back position. You go get Pittman, Devonta Smith, Rashee Rice, almost called him Ray Rice, Rashee Rice, and JSN to round out your. He's got a couple picks left, but to go grab Will Levis when you know you have the ceiling rushing with Jackson, like, I think it's great positional value, and I don't think at the end of the day Will Levis is really going to be that much worse than, or maybe even better than, the guys that are going 3-4 rounds earlier. I think it's going to be a lot closer in a point variance than people think. Again, Will Levis could suck. Like, he is playing for his contract for sure, but they've given him a wide receiver room that should be good. They've given him 2 competent running backs. Like, we'll put it this way. I said this about JJ McCarthy prior to the injury all year. I'll say the same thing about Will Levis. If Will Levis sucks, it's not because they didn't set him up for success. It's because he sucks. Because they've given him weapons. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there in Tennessee. But I'm more on the side this year of give me the hero quarterback. I'll grab a quarterback late, but I want the ceiling of the high-end value wide receivers. And if I can get a big-time one of the big 6 running backs, then I feel really good about what I'm missing on that top part, of my quarterback too there.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think it depends. I got to read my room a little bit. Like, I get petrified of I think it's a mistake in the late rounds to not have a viable QB3, just because if you lose the bid, you just might be completely out.
Right.
But I also think if you just ace your draft completely, I mean, maybe an unpopular opinion right now, but I think if you really have a solid draft, especially with all the wide receiver value that I think that I'm seeing, Calvin Ridley at the 8-6, stuff like that, like I'm loving that. I'm okay. I'm not super happy with it, but I might be okay rocking 2 quarterbacks for a little bit while I figure out the third in the trade market or on waivers or something along those lines. I'm going to be okay starting someone in the flex over Bryce Young, right? I think I'm pretty comfortable with that, right? I would rather do it in PPR versus half PPR, but maybe if one of my my late RB targets, right? A couple of them just went off the board. Javonte at the 10-4, really liking that. Normally that dead zone that type of player would go in is 2 or 3 rounds earlier. So I think based on what we saw was in the offenses, QB play was bad last year, right? I don't think it's going to be like that this year. But again, I think there's a lot of spots where you're going to get very similar production. That's
what I mean. I mean, like, anybody can get hurt on any play, but like Joe Flacco was a league winner last year in Cleveland. He outplayed Deshaun Watson. I was a little surprised the Browns didn't bring him back, to be totally transparent, because you've paid a king's ransom $500 million freaking dollars for Watson. It's not like you can go get a quarterback for very much money. I don't know the contract that he got in Indy. I can't imagine it's a ton. I know Richardson's on his rookie deal. They just paid JT and they paid Pittman, but I just felt like the Browns are clearly stupid, because what the hell are they doing signing Watson in the first place? But like, bring back Flacco and just secure your room. You know what I mean? Like, to me, Flacco's a guy that obviously you and I are in on Richardson, so we hope we don't see Flacco for obvious reasons. But Spencer Rattler could play this year. You know what I mean?
He looks pretty reasonable, man.
He looks reasonable, and Derek Carr is not good. I think it's a very realistic possibility Spencer Rattler gets, some snaps, especially if what I think will happen is going to happen and the Saints are out of it the last couple of weeks. I think they just say, Derek, sit. Let's see what we got in the kid. And, if he's got anything, then we'll know. Otherwise, we're drafting a quarterback next year at some point in April as well. So, yeah, it's interesting going. Like, I'm curious to see how, like, Nate and FaZe and Ravens kind of here in the middle with Uno Gas. They're the kind of in that middle section. Looks like Bubba also. They only have 2 quarterbacks right now. So I'm curious to see, like, what they do in this draft and how they finish it out. Obviously, I'm not going to share anything because, you and I are going to grade these. But yeah, I'm curious to see, like, what does that look like? Because they all started pretty early quarterbacks, in their draft. Mike, you back? Did we have to call the Nassau County Fire Department or what?
What up, BMO Fantasy Football, by the way? Thanks for dropping in, coming, hanging out with us. Appreciate you guys over there. Love to hear from you guys. What you're thinking about the draft so far? We can't spoil it, but you guys are. The judges can't comment too much, but you guys can throw out who you like for sure. Glad they're dropping in. Yeah, it's interesting. I I tend to really like drafting from the middle rounds pretty much every year. Most of the drafts I'm getting high scores to tend to be really nice builds in the middle rounds. Not disappointing today as well, though. I think DCast did a really, really nice job. I like the way his build kind of turned out so far. Not spoiling too much.
Sorry, my mic was muted. It's actually Suffolk County, but no, everything's fine.
Oh.
We whatchamacallit. I've been having issues with my smoke detectors for the last couple, at least tonight, and I had a feeling it was going to happen in the middle of it, but it is what it is. This is
They
what
have
we
these
do.
things called batteries. You should change them
see, the
every now
funny
and
thing
again.
is,
In this
these are
economy,
not-
Phil, come on.
no,
Costco, buddy. I just bought like a 8,000
No,
pack
no,
of
no,
AA
no.
batteries for like $3.99 at Costco. Could be a
No,
sponsor for the show.
they're usually the battery, or they're usually that D cell thing, but no, it's usually the ones that I have are all wired in, and they're all like they don't have a thing for the battery, so it's been a pain in the butt for the last couple of days. So
Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I find these last two drafts right now though the most exciting in the entire draft. I had to. So many drafts were close that I found the last 3 rounds were what completely made or break, like who was in the points and who was out. So I'm not naming players, but
okay,
for y'all listening,
It is funny though. Like when we go into the show doc at the conclusion to grade these, like sometimes it's just obvious and we're all in on like one team with our scores, and then there's times, most of the time, vast majority of the time, we're very, very divided. We may have like some of the teams that are scoring.
Oh yeah,
but I know the team. I'll tell you this today. There was a team that a couple of you guys gave like 5s and 6s to, and I was like, that's a 2. Like I was way on the opposite end of it. I just remember going in there and I was like, dang, am I missing something? Or like the guy like, and I know why the scores were so high. It was because of the 2 quarterbacks that the guy took early, and I was like, yeah, that's hard to ignore. But then I look at like the rest of the team, and I was like, if one of these quarterbacks goes down, there's not enough here to like salve. So it's just really interesting, like how we all see the build, and like, you know, like me and Rasta, our brains are pretty similar. Like we're obviously looking at, like, I'll tell you straight up, like I'm always looking at who's got ceiling wide receivers, because that's how I like to draft. That's what speaks to me. So, you know, it's always interesting to see like, okay, you went superhero wide receiver early. What'd you do and what'd you come back with? You know, so yeah, it's just fun to jump in and just kind of see how we all agree, or in certain cases we're like, woof, we're way off.
Oh yeah, and sometimes, and sometimes it's like one of us only agrees with one team, and everyone else doesn't even care, or the one team gets like a 5, and everyone else hates it. You know, we do this. It's very subjective. It's great because it gives us an opportunity to kind of take a look at everybody's team, gets everybody ready, and we can, you know, have a good conversation about it. And we get to bring in these great people to come into, you know, this tournament and be able to draft with one another. It's just a really great way to bring the community together. So that's one thing that we absolutely love about this. Kendall, I cut you off, and I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. I wanted to wait just enough. I built
right near the end.
I'll tell you, I didn't want to judge as harshly just off of my rankings versus someone else's rankings, because that's going to be a little volatile.
Oh,
I felt stronger using like a gradings, because just so you guys know, we don't have a rubric. Like me, Phil, Mike, and we don't get together and say, here's how we're going to judge it. We have our own criteria, which kind of makes it fun and interesting anyways, too. More gamesmanship, game inside the game to be played, right? But I was judging more harshly on what I felt were as close to an objective draft mistake, the way I like to play.
Oh, yeah.
And then specific. So I can't go into that yet because there's still some picks, and they could still kind of, from a structural standpoint, I'll get into that in a second. But the late rounds were super pivotal to me. I feel like that's where, if everyone's really, really good and competitive and making a lot of really good picks, I mean, like those last 4 rounds were like, how did you finish off your build? Is it crisp? Is it correlated? Does it make sense? Versus was it just a little unfocused, in my opinion? I'm being unspecific here on purpose. And that was the difference between scoring and not scoring, between getting like a 3rd place vote and not getting a vote, was almost always came down to the last 3-4 rounds for me. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm looking at the board that we did for this last one that we did yesterday for Thursday, Thursday's draft. And I'm looking at one of the teams, and it's funny that all of us graded the team, but only one person had it one person had it as their top team, and everybody else had it as a bottom three. And then there were other teams that had all of us having it at 5, 6, at the top, and then only one of us had it at 1. So I mean, there's so much. That's the one thing I love about when we do this is seeing that those huge differences. And honestly, it makes me laugh after I look at it. One group had only one person loved one particular team, and that's just how we do things with this. But it's great to have this type of scale so that we can get you guys involved in this. Oh no, Wicked autoed.
No. He
he
made his 13th and then he autoed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's fine. He probably has it on his final pick, which is fine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's got it queued
we
up.
don't care about that last pick. Not as much. Well, I mean,
Depends
maybe
who it is. Hold on before we rule out
Right,
Mr. Brock Purdy, who is clearly relevant.
Oh no, that's fine.
Ooh, Ben Sinnott. Okay.
Good pick.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that pick. I hate that pick so much.
Oh my
Sorry.
God, come on.
That's my sleep. That was a sleeper
my
last
sleeper
night,
guy.
especially after Jahan Dotson goes. Man, 14% target share
God.
just
I
opened
like
up.
Sinnott. I just don't like the real quick, right? It's just one of those week 1. I don't think you're gonna have a chance to really see like a massive break like that. I think the pick is like if someone else gets injured, you're drafting Sinnott to trade him. You're not drafting him because you're ever gonna play him. You got Sam Laporta at a nice value. You're drafting Sinnott to trade him. That's the strategy here. Like he's never cracking the lineup.
Maybe. I mean, the Lions have a week 5 bye.
Yeah.
So you could at least keep Sinnott for 5 weeks and you're playing him in week 5.
See what happens. Yeah.
And see what you've got. I mean, look,
So who's the week 1 drop then? If it's not Sinnott, you can't drop Bryce. You can't drop Chuba because he's the starting running back for 4 weeks. So you're dropping Charbonnet week 1 for the hotness. The fact is, you're dropping Sinnott week 1. It's going to happen.
Do you have to? I mean, I don't know that you have to. I mean, the only one you're grabbing is you're dropping him to grab the hottest running back you can because there's 4 running backs on this team, so it's a little thin, right? And Pacheco's your RB1, which means you don't have a huge ceiling there. Like
you got 3 running backs, right? Because Chuba's not going to be a league winner for you. You know he's going to be
he's a
significantly hampered when it comes to championship time. So he is playing the waiver wire at running back, and he's not going to probably get or be able to be aggressive with Sinnott. That's why I don't like the Sinnott pick is specifically because in the last round, I want someone where week 1, I know their role is either what I thought it could be or it's not. In my last round pick, I'm prepared to drop. I'm almost expecting to drop them almost assuredly.
Agreed.
To go for the Puka.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think, look, I don't see Jalen Wright is in the 11th. Marshawn Lloyd on this board because I know he's got the hamstring, so his ADP's been dropping.
No. Yep. I don't think
Tyler Algier, I don't think's on this. Oh, he is right there in the 13th,
Algier
right
should be on the board.
He's
and
there.
He's
on the 13th.
You should be taking. I'm gonna say it right here, right now. If you have Bijan, you should be taking Tyler.
I think you should be taking Tyler, even if you don't. I mean, sadly, I think
I'm saying.
He might be closer to Jalen Warren this year than he is go.
Yeah, no, he has stand around value for possibly a flex spot. But my point is that you want to have him as your handcuffed. He is one of the most valuable handcuffs.
Yeah, I mean, look, the hard part with Tyler Algier is it's an expensive roster spot to just
not at 13. I'm surprised he fell to 13.
True, but my point being is like he is, regardless of where you got him, he's on your roster. You are not dropping him. You can't drop him. So it's like you're basically playing a guy down from your bench if you do have Bijan. Now, if you don't have Bijan, I actually like the Algier pick more.
Okay.
Because it gives you some flexibility. You could trade him out, you could keep him, you could do, obviously not going to drop him, but you could do what you need to do. Whereas if you have Bijan and you take Algier, you're committed to it. I think you're probably committed to it for the year.
I'll give him some points on this one though, because regardless of our exact league format on this, most competitive leagues have an IR spot. I think more than 50%. He has he has Brooks.
Yeah, I saw that.
Brooks is going straight into IR. He does have a free pickup And
let's be clear.
Algier's a little less of a clogger.
I wanted to bring this up because we haven't had a conversation. I haven't been able to talk about this yet. And a lot of people have brought up the fact that, Brooks, of course, his injury is coming back from his ACL and all that fun stuff. There's no actual guarantee that he will be on IR. They're talking him up in camp. They're saying all these wonderful things about him. He could just be limping in, and they want to kind of ease him in, and maybe they don't put him on IR right away. I think maybe he could be somebody that's, could be just I wouldn't say a healthy scratch, but he'll just be a scratch each week.
I don't think he goes on IR at all. I mean, Canales is saying he's expecting him back week 3, week 4. So I don't think they can put him on IR.
My point. Yeah.
What I think is interesting about Brooks is I'm looking right now.
Later, Carl.
I wanted to see. I can't find it. Give me 1 second. I wanted to see when their bye week was.
Who?
The Panthers.
Panthers are 10 or
10.
No, 11. They're 11.
I think Chuba's going to have 7 to 8 weeks of annoying value simply because, let's say on the earliest end, Brooks is back week 4.
Yeah,
conservatively,
he still needs a couple weeks to kind of get back. Yeah,
they're not throwing him in there right away as a 3-down back. So, do I think he's a second half of the year winner? Yes. Do I think he's going to eventually take the job? I think that's what we're all expecting.
Yeah, he's a better dynasty grab for me than he is for redraft. That's my personal opinion about it.
For sure, I would to me, it's like it's kind of the inverse argument about Jerome Ford.
Yeah,
I think Jerome Ford is going to have standalone value for the duration of the season, even when Chubb does come back. So I think Chubb's probably like a week 8, 9, 10 sort of a guy that comes back into the team, and Ford's not going to go away.
No, and they also have Foreman to kind of solidify what Chubb does.
They used Kareem Hunt a lot when they had Nick Chubb over the last couple of years. So Ford's got some good value there. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to go and grab anybody to put on IR, it would be Nick Chubb and TJ Hawkinson. Those are the two players that if I've got 2 IR spots, I want to target because it's basically giving me 2 free bench spots. And then I can obviously drop whoever I need, whenever those guys become available later on in the season. So those are, if you're looking at that from a strategy and a game theory perspective, leave your draft with at least one of them, if not both of them, because you've got 2 free players.
So Rafi's going, I'm shocked that someone like Algier hasn't been traded to a team like the Cowboys. What could they possibly get for him? Honestly, I don't think they're willing to give him up because he's just too good. And I think as I know what Phil's going to say. It's Khalil Herbert.
Khalil Herbert.
It's quite shocking to see that he hasn't been traded yet, but he is definitely somebody that I go through these drafts a lot of times and I see Khalil Herbert's name somewhere and I'm like, wow, like you're willing to take that in this type of scenario. Well, maybe not 12 team. I think 14 team. He'll be there. But he's definitely someone that you might want to take a little bit of a flyer on in that last round. He's somebody that could turn out to be someone, that goes to the Cowboys. And to be honest, Zeke or Khalil Herbert, I don't know, man.
I think Herbert's going to go somewhere. I've been beating the drum for the Cowboys because it's just so obvious.
Yeah.
It will obviously be dependent on if DeAndre Swift can stay healthy and if they think they have enough with Roschon. So if it gets to be week 5, week 6, and DeAndre Swift's healthy and Roschon is competent, I think Khalil Herbert goes because we know that's when guys are going to get injured. Mm-hmm. Guys are going to start to, take knocks and get banged up. We don't know what's going to happen. Like I know the Eagles just drafted Will Shipley.
Yeah.
But if Saquon goes down, does Khalil Herbert go to Philly to give them a 1-2 punch with Will Shipley? You know what I mean? Like it's pretty thin. Does he go to the Giants, Mike? You know what I mean? Like
I think we
thin.
Like
So yeah, but I think when you look at some of these kind of thin backfields where it's like in Detroit, you've got Gibbs and Monty. And it's in division anyway. But my point is like you've got 2 guys, you don't need another one, you're good.
No.
But some of these other teams I would think would be in the market for Khalil Herbert. Kendall, I know you're the Bears fan. What is you think
Saints
what are your thoughts? Yeah, the Saints could be. I mean, look, Kendrick, what do they say? If he's going to make it, he's got to get on the field. Yeah. Hard to make the team from the training room or whatever Dennis Allen was saying.
So. And then on top of that, I absolutely love Jamal Williams as a person. But would you rather have Khalil Herbert? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jamal Williams' best football is well behind him.
Unfortunately,
It
behind
clearly
him.
showed he's looking good. Like in the preseason,
looks
he
great.
ripped off some long runs. He
Yeah.
still has like some inconsistency, but he can find the break. He's a lot like Kenneth Walker, where when he hits pretty hard, right? He's not as talented nearly, but I think it's very much like Dynasty players. It's a situation where we don't know if we're competing or not. Most of the teams are in that situation. The Bears are liking what they're seeing from Khalil. They're getting steamed up. Everyone else is steamed up on the Bears. When you're really feeling yourself, I don't think you start selling off pieces. You get greedy. You want a lot for your players. I would imagine there's been a conversation or two, and they're just asking for too much compensation. I do think Herbert becomes an in-season trade when a team that is going to find themselves in a position where they're not thinking, we could probably use him. We definitely have sort of a hole right now, but we don't know if we need to fill that hole. Like every Dynasty team, if you're not competing, why the hell would you buy a running back? Depreciating asset. Don't do it. Wait until you know. I think that's how it's going to be this season in the NFL. We're going to see some teams that are surprisingly competing. Maybe they're a little banged up. They need something there. I think that's how it goes down. Hard to predict who he's going to go to because I just don't have a good feel for how some of these middling teams are going to go, but it could be pretty interesting.
I said it last night. I'll say it again. It wouldn't shock me if Khalil Herbert winds up out here for the Niners.
I wouldn't be.
Guarendo's hurt.
Team, yeah. There's so many
hurt. And Elijah Mitchell's always hurt. The Niners should be a playoff team again. So, like to your point, if you're not making the playoffs, why buy a depreciating asset? The Niners are going to be in the playoffs, and they're obviously expecting Mason, to be in the Super Bowl. You can like a guy as much as you want, but if he's not available,
no, Mason's available. Yeah. I'm saying like
either have Khalil Herbert or Jordan Mason.
Understood. No, that's fair.
Right?
I like Herbert a lot better than most of the middling, RB2s on most teams. I mean, he's a solid back overall. Honestly, I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised we're even having that type of conversation about him and not about a guy like Roshan or something like that, because Roshan didn't show me anything special. I mean, he was fine, serviceable. Nah.
I mean, but
but it's a rookie year.
I was going to say he's on a rookie contract, so that's where the money comes in.
No, understood.
And that's the business decision.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot that we, have to figure out and a lot of things that are still coming up. We're still having some camp battles. I mean, teams have until Friday. No, they have until next Tuesday.
Oh, to get it down to 50.
To get it down to 53. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious. I mean, we just saw actually the only news that I saw today. I mean, we have Zay Jones, who's now going to be out for, 5 games.
Yep.
It now opens up things a little bit for the Cardinals, especially for guys that we weren't really thinking about before. Michael Wilson is somebody that is now kind of on someone's radar. Greg Dortch, of course, the top two.
Did you have Zay Jones ahead of Wilson in that team?
I had Wilson ahead of Zay Jones, but in a way where Zay would be the slot compared to the Y.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think Michael Wilson's really interesting this season.
Because, I love Michael Wilson.
Yeah, I just think Marv's going to attract so much attention because he's such a weapon for them. Regardless, I'm not talking about how high his rookie finish is going to be or what his range of outcomes is. We'll talk about that later. And we can do that
another day.
Yeah, and we've also talked about it from the Dynasty perspective all spring. But I think for this year, Michael Wilson becomes a really interesting I've lost a guy to injury. I need a flex, and I think he's going to actually score points. And if the weeks that I need him, he happens to find the end zone, yay me. You know what I mean? I think he's that guy that it's not sexy. You don't need him. You don't necessarily want him, but throw him on your roster in the 14th round because he's going to have some value. And look, Kyler's fully healthy. We like the addition of Trey Benson. James Conner is still a good running back one. So I think there's, as much as I hate to say it, I've been saying it all spring as a Niners fan. I like what the Cardinals are doing.
Yeah, I mean,
I like what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if he was like Dubes, where
Dobbs,
whatever.
Dobbs,
If that's kind of what he is. I'm not saying he's because Dobbs kind of gets thrown as hey, everyone's he's actually secretly the wide receiver one. It's let's not even talk about that. Let's just say he doesn't have a high target share, but he has an important role in a good offense, and that was enough to elevate him above great players on bad offenses that were way too wildly inconsistent, and he was
Yeah.
more startable. I see that as a role he could take and feel very good about him in the flex.
I think Michael Wilson is like a really, really poor man's Jamison Williams. And hear me out.
Okay.
You have an alpha wide receiver in Amon-Ra. Your tight end is probably your target 2 earner in Laporta.
Okay.
In Arizona, you have an alpha in MHJ, and McBride is probably your de facto wide receiver 2 target earner. So Jamison Williams is that third guy in rotation, maybe fourth, right? Because Gibbs catches passes. But Michael Wilson's probably third in targets on that team behind McBride. So but that's still a useful player. Like if you go, Kendall, I like your Dobbs comp, because if you went to go find a third target earner, you're talking about Michael Wilson in that offense. I'm not going to use the Bears because everybody likes their wide receivers, and the Texans are, you know what I mean? Like those are bad examples.
Yeah,
those guys are going to get drafted.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to get drafted high. But like who the hell's the wide receiver 2 in Pittsburgh? Because Pat Cowboys, right? You got CD, you got Jake Ferguson, nobody else. You got George Pickens, you got Pat Freiermuth, nobody else, right? So like, give me Michael Wilson over Van Jefferson, over Jalen Tolbert. You know what I mean? Like, give me that pick all day.
Yeah, no. We know Tolbert's there, but he's not anything worth.
There's a difference between being
he might be the new
and
Jacoby Myers. Is I guess another comp.
So that's a good one.
Criminally underrated. We know he's got a cap. We don't look at him as a ceiling player ever. But someone who can consistently win in like a slot type of role. And yeah, I like it. I like the pick a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we're not comparing the talent. Like obviously Jacoby Myers is the better player. But yeah.
He was a second round NFL draft pick. I mean,
yeah. I mean, Michael Wilson, he's
Quentin
6'2",
Johnston was a first round draft pick. So
yeah. I mean, he's 6'2", 213. I mean, if you look at his snap counts from last year, he was on the field 80% of the time, if not more. So, I mean, he's definitely going to be out on the field, which means opportunity. So I'm very high on him. He actually got very much involved at the end of the year, more so than the beginning of the year. Of course, he's a rookie. They're trying to ease him in and get him involved. But, I mean, he's definitely someone viable. I mean, I have another question because someone was bringing it up before Richardson because they were, Richardson had all types of hype. But he has not looked really good in camp, team scrimmages. Are you guys losing faith in lowering your rankings? I know for a fact Kendall isn't. We had this argument a couple of weeks ago on Phil's show. But I actually do have a question because these two guys are very, very similar in the context of where they're being drafted. So, and I actually had this argument with my brother who he had both these guys at the same value because we have a keeper league. He had them in the same round. Anthony Richardson or Kyler Murray? Who do you want more in their particular scenarios? Let's go. I'm going to go with Phil because Kendall can think about it. I'm going to give Kendall a minute to think about it.
My answer.
But I'm going to give you a minute to think about it.
It's a good comp.
Because you had two guys coming in from last year. You had, Kyler Murray coming in for the last 8 weeks. You had Anthony Richardson only came in for those first 4. So, I mean, those are two guys that are very talented, very good at quarterback. We've seen, one of them do well. So who are we going with here? Who's the guy that you like more?
So here's, I'm going to answer it backwards on purpose. Okay. The first thing I'm going to say is number 1, Kyler Murray. I haven't checked in a while because I locked my bet in a long time ago at plus 3,000, boys. If you are watching this show and you are in a state where Underdog and DraftKings are, Underdog, where DraftKings is allowed, please go bet Kyler Murray at plus 3,000 for comeback player of the year. Because Joe Burrow was like plus 250. So it's basically like, he was like even, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you'll make some money, but like plus 3,000.
What's Anthony Richardson at? Who's Richardson?
Well, he doesn't. I don't know how they determine like who's in it, how they set their lines.
Yeah,
but yeah. My point being, so I bet Kyler Murray for comeback player of the year because the odds are just insanity. Like the money's just too good, right?
That's a good bet.
I do think Kyler Murray is going to be a better NFL quarterback this season than Richardson.
I might bet this.
Okay.
Right now.
From a fantasy perspective, I'm going to take Richardson, and here's why. It's exactly the reasons I just said a couple minutes ago about I like what the Cardinals are doing. I don't think they're going to ask Kyler to do as much as they had in the past. There you go. Yeah. you've got Marvin Harrison now. You've got Michael Wilson. You've got Trey McBride. You've got 2 running backs that you really like. You know what I mean? Like Greg Dortch is, I'm not going to put his name in there. You know what I mean? So like you've got guys that you can count on, right? Zay Jones will be back and he'll be fine. The nice thing about being suspended is it's not an injury. So yes, it sucks. He's missing 5 games, but it's not like he's rehabbing, you know, a shoulder, an MCL, something 100%. To that effect. With Richardson, you have JT, you have Pittman. I just think that they're going to use him in a way they did last year. I think he's going to run a ton, and fantasy scoring is broken. I mean, Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen have been fantasy quarterbacks 1, 2, 3 in that range because of the amount of rushing and touchdowns. So I'm going to still take Richardson. It's close though. It's very close, but I'm going to take Richardson.
So before I get to Kendall, this is just really funny because I actually said these exact words. Is that, Rafi is saying that I am a Colts fan, and lately I keep seeing more Justin Fields rather than Jalen Hurts, which, okay. And it's going to make me drink a little bit more on Sundays. I saw the same thing. I keep seeing that a lot. I see Justin Fields in my head a lot more with him than I do, with someone like a Jalen Hurts / whoever you want to compare him to. So, Kendall, I know you're still on Richardson. Is it closer now? Are you?
It always was close because I was in on Kyler. Yeah, this is not a neg on Kyler. This is me saying Kyler was being disrespected. Now he's getting hyped up a little bit more, and he's starting to be valued more appropriately, I think. But people were a little bit too down on him and what I think that offense could and will and what he'll do in it and just all the above, right? So Richardson is more risky than Murray. 100%. You got to admit that. Third place doesn't pay, or maybe gets your buy-in back. I'm playing 11 other guys. I got to get first, right? I think Richardson is the better bet for a first place than Kyler Murray across a reasonable enough range of outcomes.
Yep.
I mean, if he can really do what I saw with his legs consistently enough, that'll do it. Guys, Justin Fields was a league winner, right? I don't care if he's I'm not saying I don't care if he's Justin Fields, but like that's the hyperbolic take is even if he is, would suck if that happens if you were a Colts fan, right, Rafi? But the fact is, if you're drafting him, you could still win a fantasy championship with Justin Fields. But I think he's better than that. He has significantly better weapons. They're going to have a better pace of play, much better front office. Literally everyone in and outside the building is better. That's going to help a ton. What was our big thing on Justin Fields? As a Bears fan, Chicago still feels bad for him. We're all in on Caleb. We still feel for Justin Fields. I'd buy him a beer tomorrow. He had a bad run at it. It wasn't all him. That being said, it was partially him, but we could have helped a little. I mean, just like a tiny bit. They could have done
something.
Right? Caleb comes in and they buy every shiny object in town, and Fields gets defensive play. Like it was ridiculous. Fields' problems are different than Richardson's, though. Okay, Fields had bad pocket presence. He was holding on to the ball too often. He was not finding second and third reads with enough, nuance and timing. Those second and third reads were also worse route runners, worse point of catch players. Richardson doesn't have that problem, right? His wide receiver 2 is looking real nice. Me and Phil are real in on AD Mitchell, right?
Yeah,
him and Downs
slowly getting dragged in.
He scored a touchdown yesterday.
Downs isn't on the field yet, guys.
I drafted
Downs
him
is
yesterday.
very, very good at football. When Downs is healthy, that is an elite wide receiver room. Yeah. I think he's going to get rid of the football a little bit faster. I think he's going to have some turnover issues. I think he's going to throw some gross pick sixes like we already saw. That can be improved on a little bit. I think that Justin Fields, dude, just throw the ball. He has a problem throwing NFL wide receivers NFL open. It's a tighter window than in college. Sometimes you just don't get away from that. I'd rather have a little bit of a gunslinger that can get there. Brett Favre threw a lot of picks. When he was on it, it made some sense, right? I think I'll forgive the throwing some picks a little bit more than holding on to the ball and just not doing anything with it, because you're not learning anything when you're holding on to the ball either as a young player. You'll learn when you're playing the game. So I still like Richardson.
Here are some numbers. Ready? Lamar Jackson, quarterback 4, 5 rushing touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence, quarterback 13, 4 rushing touchdowns. CJ Stroud, quarterback 11, 3 rushing touchdowns. So you have guys that are all top 15 guys. I excluded Allen and Hurts on purpose.
Yeah,
because they had 15 rushing touchdowns. So let's say that we have touchdown regression with Allen and Hurts. Let's put them conservatively at 8 rushing touchdowns. That's probably going to be on par with the top 6 running backs. Maybe not the top guys, but you're going to be in that mix. And you can't get that somewhere else. So Richardson doesn't have to throw for 4,000 yards. The rushing alone is what's going to get him there. And I've been, look, I'm from Gainesville, Florida, so go Gators. It's going to be hard for me to get, I'm not drafting a Gator just because I'm not drafting a guy just because he's from Gator. He's from Gainesville.
Sure? What about Kadarius Toney?
Who? So Kadarius Toney, I think he just applied at about the Payless shoe store. Come on, we got
Well,
point being,
he's going to be cut.
Yeah, you've got to go, and like Kendall said, you've got to find ceiling. You've got to find guys that can win you leagues. So without risk, you're not getting reward. And Mike, I'm not taking a shot at you, but I know that you love CJ Stroud and you love Jordan Love. You love your pocket passers. It's safe. The floor is very high, and the ceiling is still good, but it's not. You're not.
It's not exponentially.
It's not an
high.
Allen. It's not a Hurts, and it's not a Richardson ceiling, and that's fine. The risk is he is one hit away from not playing anymore. But so is technically every quarterback in the league. Yep. I mean, Tom Brady, I don't remember what year it was, but Tom Brady in week 1, first game, boom, there goes the ACL. Tennessee, right? Peyton Manning had neck surgery and came back and won a Super Bowl 12 weeks later. So you just have to go and ask yourself, what is your risk tolerance?
Oh, yeah.
How much can I afford to, quote unquote, sweat it out on the couch or at the bar every Sunday while I stare at Sleeper on my phone, right? And, I just don't see a world, everything presumes health. I don't see a world where Anthony Richardson can finish outside of the top 12 quarterbacks if he plays 16 games because of the rushing. That's the scoring. That's the scoring in fantasy.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not a bad one to go. I'm always, Wicked goes, I'm smashing the Classic Mike over on 3,500 yards and 10 rushing touchdowns this year. I hope so. But for me, honestly, Phil's 100% correct. It's one of those things where I like to be safe. My safe guys are the guys that can pass. And if they're passing, their floor is high, and that means they can do well. But I honestly, like Phil said before, anyone can get hurt at any given time. Edwin Porras, he's a wonderful, if you look him up on X, he is FB injury doc. And honestly, he's one of the better ones to watch. There's a few other guys too, but I like him a lot. He did a study on injuries for rushing quarterbacks and pocket passers. The pocket passers actually technically had it's 0.2 more injuries, but they had a higher statistic, where they tend to get a little bit more
because they can't run away.
Well, because because they're stabilized, and when you're stabilized, the injuries become more.
You're getting hit on when you're on your plant foot or before you plant, and
so a lot of the injuries that you get are a lot more significant. ACLs, not rotator cuff.
You get Achilles, you can get
Achilles injuries. Broken legs at the bottom, things like that, like Dak and, things, of that nature.
Yep. And get your ankle rolled up on.
Yeah. Bad ankle roll-ups from the O-line, stuff like that. Running quarterbacks, they get soft tissue injuries, which keep them out, but not all situations. They're still, they can still tear an ACL, an Achilles, they can still get those, but they tend to get those soft tissue injuries a little bit more than the others and can't really play through those because it takes away that one thing that they're really good at. And when you take that away, we've seen from a couple of the guys that know and can only run, when you take that one aspect away from that player, it makes it very difficult for them to do their job. That's why I've always been the guy that's on the pocket passer, because even if you're bad at running, they can't stop you from running. They can only just try to get to you quicker in the pocket. So in my, if you're a dual threat, you stop that one duel, in this case rushing, and you suck at passing, you're not going to be able to do anything. And I haven't seen anything to show that Anthony Richardson is a viable passer. So it's hard for me to get on board with it. Guys like Kyler Murray supported two legends of the game, or will be in this. Well, one is, when he was a QB2, and they both, were. I want to say two of the three were for 1,000 yards, and one was almost at 1,000. I think he was at 800 when he was, when he was QB2. So
the hard part for me is just that everybody is so off Richardson because of the sample size.
Yeah,
and look, and here's the thing.
It's a big part of it. Yeah.
If you had $24 million invested into a single human being, or whatever his rookie contract is, but that's roughly what they are now, right? First round quarterback. So that's Caleb's was that. So I'm just I could look it up, but I'm not going to right now. But if you had a significant $25 million investment, more importantly, if you believe that it's going to be a $250 investment in the next 4 years, because that's what the going rate is now for mediocre quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa.
Well, now
so you're basically saying,
I was going to say Daniel Jones.
Sorry, I was talking about guys that are actually relevant. So
fair point.
My point, though, is that if you have over the next 8 years potentially $300 million invested into a human, I would shut him down and make him get surgery too. And if you go back and look at, and I have it in front of me, the running back 53 in 2020 and the running back 38, same player, in 2021, you could say he was injury prone. You could say, I don't want him on my team. His value drops, and I don't want anything to do with a player like that. He's always hurt. He can't stay healthy. All he did was get traded to San Francisco and finish as the running back 2 and then the running back 1.
Yeah.
So Christian McCaffrey's had that moniker. Everyone has had that moniker. And at the end of it all, look, this is football. They ain't playing tiddlywinks out there. Like, this is football. It is. Someone said this. I don't remember who it was. I have to go back and look it up. It was I've watched so much, Hard Knocks or whatever it is.
Yep.
Football is a collision sport.
Oh yeah.
It is not a tackle football. It is not. It is a collision sport. It was one of the coaches, I think it was in the Lions, were on Hard Knocks last year. I think it was Deuce Staley actually. Now I think it's coming back to me. It's said at the running back.
Most likely. Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's the truth. It is a collision sport, right? Like, there was a show called Sports Science, if you ever watched it on ESPN.
Oh, yeah. I used to love that show.
Really cool show. And they used to have one person come on, if this track person, how can they run so fast? They had Ray Lewis come on, and they had him tackle a tackle dummy as hard as he could. And they measured all of the different pressures and all the different, metrics and statistics.
Oh, yeah.
It was the equivalent, basically an unabated to the quarterback hit, a free hit for Ray Lewis on the quarterback was the equivalent of a 35-mile-an-hour car
35?
accident.
Yeah.
35-mile-an-hour car accident.
Wow.
That's what these guys are doing. So, yeah, I think we're going to have a little bit of injuries with the fellas. So,
yeah,
it's a question of, what do you want to risk?
Oh, understood.
I'm willing to risk it and go for the upside, because the truth is, like Kendall said, I'm playing against 11 other guys. If I don't have that, I'm not winning anyway.
Yeah.
I'm probably not winning anyway, unless everyone else just has a bunch of injuries and my team doesn't get bitten by the bug, right? That's half of fantasy anyway. But put yourself in the best position to win, because it's a 1 in 12 chance.
100%. I mean, we had injury prone is such a loose term that everyone uses too much, I think, sometimes. And honestly, we've seen it in the past. I remember a fun debate was Sammy Watkins and OBJ. And if you looked, it was at the time, so it was like 2-3 years ago, if not 4 years ago. I remember they were saying like, "Oh, Sammy Watkins coming back, he's going to do so well. Oh, he's injury prone, all this stuff." And people were drafting, him over OBJ, and they weren't giving OBJ that same label. OBJ played like 2 or 3 less games than Sammy Watkins, and yet he wasn't labeled as injury prone. They labeled Sammy Watkins as injury prone because of the injuries he had. So, I mean, injury prone is such a term that we have to kind of get away from a little bit. I'm not saying that Anthony Richardson is. I just think he has a higher risk for, injury, even though in this case, this is a collision sport. It is what it is. But I hope he does well. I was going to bring up Mr. Fletcher Cox's question, because
beat you to it. Yeah.
I like it. So who should he start week 1 Zay, I'm assuming Zay
It's
Flowers,
Flowers.
Worthy, Hop, or Mostert.
And I'm assuming this is flex.
If it's
In his
flex,
spot.
I gotta look at the
That
I didn't even look
matchup,
at the
Ravens
matchup.
Chiefs, dude. I'm going Flowers all day.
Ravens Chiefs.
Week
Who,
1, right?
who do the Dolphins have week 1?
I was gonna that's my because I'm aiming
Oh,
Mostert
yeah.
until I look at the matchup.
I think they have
Jacksonville. Jacksonville's decent at the run. They're not really a good pass defense, but they're a good run defense. I'm gonna go Mostert.
I'm probably starting Mostert. Yeah.
Yeah, in most, I mean, it's also based on your particular format too. If it's full PPR, I might lean. Would you lean a different way if it was full?
Full, put it this way: it would be between Flowers. I'm not starting Worthy.
Yeah,
not until I
not
see
until
it.
like week 4. Yeah.
Now that I say that, you know what's going to happen. Worthy's going to catch,
he's gonna go
two for 81
He's gonna do
and
the Sammy
2
Watkins.
like that. Yeah, exactly.
Process
That's
is right
what
though.
it's gonna
Like
be.
historical comps say probably shouldn't do that. Also, the Ravens defense is pretty real.
Yeah,
I think the Chiefs offense this year is probably one of the best offenses they're gonna have over the last couple of years. This is pretty mean. They got a lot of ways to score. They're not throwing a MVS and stuff right now. I guess they got some real dudes on the field. I just think it's going to be impossible for them not to put up a lot of points. And I like the upside of Flowers, where I'm so heavy into Achan, where I'm not saying I'm betting against Mostert because I think he's a screaming value. He's one of my favorite picks.
Mostert's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's like well, Mostert's ceiling is also still kind of crazy, but at the same time, like I'm gonna go with the younger player that's in what I feel is a better, like super chalky matchup that has a chance to score an easy 20 plus fantasy points. Where Mostert, I mean, he can still get there, but I think I see touchdown regression. I see Mostert having a much more like even keel game.
So he meant Zay Worthy and Xavier Worthy. Okay.
Oh, I was like, I've never heard him called that.
I've never heard that. So
but it was a good discussion either way. I would start Mostert on the one piece of, I think Jacksonville has so many more weapons to cover in Miami.
Oh yeah.
Because if you look at the Ravens,
Such
you know what
Lamar too.
Yeah, like you know what Lamar Jackson, Chris Jones is a problem.
Oh yeah.
He is a problem. So it's Mark Andrews, it's Zay Flowers, and then it's kind of meh.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I do think that Miami can find ways, kind of like what they're talking about in Detroit. I think Miami can find ways to get Mostert and Achan on the field at the same time and maybe motion him out, line him up in the slot, similar to what they're talking about using Gibbs. But if you can come away from your draft with a hero RB, a secondary RB somewhere, and go grab Monty and Mostert as your RBs 3 and 4,
yeah,
it's a fantastic running back core right there.
So I mean, Roth, I'm gonna don't worry, I'm gonna go back to you, Fletcher, because I actually wanted to throw a second little thing in there. But he says Mostert a keeper at the 9th round with a penalty. Or
what
ninth round penalty.
What is the? I'm assuming the 9th round is the keeper cost when he says penalty.
I'm assuming so. Yeah.
I would keep Mostert in the 9th. Yeah.
Yeah. Kendall, same.
I mean, I don't know who you're comparing him to, right?
True.
Like, usually if it's going to be this or that
it's
situation,
him or
right?
that. Yeah.
If it's that or not keeping him at all, I mean, it's value, like clearly. But what would you also be keeping? It'd be my question. Maybe we can.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my other options. Yeah. Mostert right now is coming off the board as overall 70. He's
I didn't know
going.
that.
If I meet him in person, I'm gonna be like his bud, man. This is gonna be cool.
Mostert coming off the board is RB 25 right now, overall 76.
Okay.
So let me just do some simple math.
Yeah, that's probably
6 rounds. You're getting a 3-round. You're getting a 3-round discount on Mostert. I would keep him in the 9th. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
He's still got 7th round ADP, right?
Yeah, 6-7 rounds.
Something like that. So Fletcher, the one thing that I wanted to bring up is, since you're asking about Xavier Worthy, D-Hop, and Mostert, the one thing that I would not do is play D-Hop. And beyond the fact that he's injured, he's going to be going against probably one of the most underrated cornerbacks in the league, and he is very good.
I got to see Levis play a full game, 4 quarters before I'm.
Oh, that too.
I'll start Ridley, I guess, right? But
I'll give Will Levis the benefit of the doubt. But with playing against that particular corner, He's a shutdown guy. I'm talking about Jalen. I never get his last name right. It's Jackson or Johnson. Jalen Johnson.
for the Bears.
I think it's Jalen
Yeah,
Johnson.
there we go.
Yeah.
He's shut down. He
Yeah.
will shut him down. So I'm
Keenan
not
Allen
really
say I don't have a catch against him yet.
Yeah, that's part.
Well,
of why.
we'll combine the takes. Okay, here's what you do. Okay, you're gonna start. Don't
Sorry,
start.
the way you
Start
said that was
Mostert.
perfect.
We're gonna combine. Start Mostert.
Yeah.
Put a bunch of money on worthy anytime touchdown scorer. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
This is how you sweep everything and feel real good.
Yeah, 100%. So Rafi also wants to bring up the Chargers running back core. So think about your favorite Chargers running back at this point. He goes, speaking of injuries, guys, any faith in the Chargers running backs? They should be a heavy run team with John Harbaugh, but don't really have that guy. So is there any guy on the Chargers that you guys really like? Should we be targeting these guys as late round running backs, or are they?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
they're all values.
Yes.
Literally every single one of them.
Every single one? You guys
I don't
three?
like
Go ahead.
the rookie. I don't like the rookie, but
You don't like Vidal?
No, I don't like Vidal. He's not a
Okay.
pass catcher. If I'm taking a
No,
late
he's
round
a-
shot, why would you be going for Vidal when you can go with Dylan Loeb, who can catch 10 passes? I'm not going to go with a rookie in a mixed backfield who
he had
doesn't
a
catch
fumble
passes.
tonight.
It's just 16 ways to him not scoring 10 fantasy points. I don't like the other two guys. I think they're both going to be pretty fantasy relevant.
So I just did 5 minutes monologue on don't call guys injury prone, and I'm not gonna go back on my
You're
own
not going to
take.
do it?
But it's not an injury prone thing. But like, look, J.K.
They have
Dobbins has had
sustained
two
He's permanently
just
injured, okay?
massive injuries. So
Yeah.
so no, I don't want that. Right? I don't. I will take Anthony Richardson because what I saw.
Anthony Richardson.
Yes, because everyone's saying, "Oh, Anthony Richardson injury prone." Don't
Oh,
take Anthony
that.
Richardson.
Oh, okay.
I'll take Anthony Richardson because what I saw, Anthony Richardson put up numbers that Lamar Jackson only beat one time in a week.
Okay.
I just looked up his scores, and he was the QB4. He had 136-point week and 132-point week. Richardson put up a 31-point week, and then he was out for the season. My point being, give me Gus because he had 13 touchdowns last year.
100%.
It's a Greg Roman system. Justin Herbert is going to be efficient, even if he's going to be a lower ceiling guy and he's going to be a high floor. They're not going to run it a ton. But I talked about this on my show last night. And in fact, I pulled my show doc if I need to. I just remember it. They have the 12th best offensive line.
Yeah.
So not great. They have the 28th ranked defense. So this is not.
Oh, their defense.
I made this joke last night. I'll make it again. And if you're listening, sorry, you hear the joke twice. This ain't Jerry Jones math of we're the best team, so we get to pick in this round. No, Jerry, that's not how that works. Go sit down somewhere. They have the 28th, the Chargers, 28th best defense. So as much as they want to run,
Yeah.
they're not going to be able to do it this season. Maybe next year and in year 3, fine with Harbaugh. But if you get anywhere inside the red zone and anywhere inside the 5, I have 100% faith that ball's getting stuck in the belly of Gus Edwards and they're going to go pound it into the end zone. And that's how they're going to try and score touchdowns. So give me Gus. Because I think even as a late round guy, I still think he could get, I think he's going to flirt with, I think he's going to flirt with 10 touchdowns. Exactly.
He could have more touchdowns than Derrick Henry. It could happen.
He could.
Interesting.
Oh, you know what? That could be one of my
That would be a
legitimate
good one.
bullshits
I
for
like
I
next
mean,
that.
look,
week.
it's
Yeah,
not
I like
likely.
that.
We know it's not likely,
Sure.
but it's just
Opportunity.
extreme. He could
Yeah, he's got to regress a little bit.
620, yards and 10 touchdowns. That's within the range of outcomes.
And look, touchdowns win fantasy football games.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
100%.
they do.
That's it.
And I'll say, just to add on to that take, I like that Dobbins goes late enough. He hasn't been steamed up too many rounds to where it's like, what are we doing? And he's my guy where I like to draft him in the second to last or last round. With a week 1, I know what his role is. It's easier to watch running back snaps and understand what they want to do with them. Wide receivers, it's tougher. You need a couple weeks to kind of figure it out, in my opinion. Week 1, I know situation to situation. That's a game I'm going to watch. And I'm going to figure out, is Dobbins worth keeping? Or is this just not a thing? I can get out of him very cheaply. That's why I like him. I don't like him because I think he's going to be a great NFL asset to them. You know, I think Gus Bus is the clear fantasy value, but Dobbins is just cheap enough that I like him as a dart throw.
Gus is going in the 11th round, 113 overall, RB 35. There is a caveat that I didn't say that I want to bring up, and then we can move to some of these other questions. I'm looking through the chat, and there's some good ones in there.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins was Greg Roman's guy prior to the injury.
Oh, 100%.
So and it's a large if.
And he looks good with one leg somehow.
So that's what I
How
mean.
did he
Like
do that?
It's
That's
a
impossible.
big if. But if he is fully healthy, I actually think he's going to be the guy going forward as they get later into the year. The question mark is he fully healthy? So I think Gus is flirting with double-digit touchdowns again, and I am okay being wrong if you know,
Yeah, 100%.
if Dobbins hits, I'll be the first one to say, hey, I was wrong, but that's too risky for me.
Yeah, I don't mind him on deeper benches if you're looking to grab someone like Dobbins. But honestly, Gus Bus, top guy you want. He's the guy that you want in the Chargers, backfield. Vidal isn't horrible, but he's more of he's the one thing that he's really good at is pass blocking. And as much I understand that if you're blocking, you're not catching, but it means he's going to be on the field a little bit more on third down. He'll be involved a little bit more. They might try to involve him. We'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, Vidal is really just a really deep stash for Dynasty than he is for redraft.
Yeah.
I'm not touching him in redraft unless he's like my last pick and he's somebody that, you have a deep bench with like 7, or more or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and that's even a risk.
It's hard for me because it gives me Dwayne McBride vibes. Dwayne McBride signed a futures contract with the Vikings. Like he's not even really on the team. He's kind of a practice squad guy, and similar build, similar metrics, similar score, same conference in that I think it's Conference USA or Sun Belt. No, excuse me, it's Sun Belt. It just doesn't and it's even a similar conversation that we had last year of like Cook is out, Madison is in, who's the RB2? Oh, it's going to be this new kid McBride, and it wasn't. It was Ty Chandler. So, like to me, if J.K. Dobbins is healthy enough, serviceable with Gus, I just don't see a world for Vidal to be relevant. I can't envision it.
True. So Wicked, I'm gonna just answer this. I'm gonna answer this real quick for you. The reason why there's been nothing is because they haven't had a court date yet set for Rice. Rice is playing this year. It's a new thing that's really now, seen because we're a lot closer and we can see like what's going to happen. Just to get his court date in the books, it's going to take at least 6 months, and that's on a good day. So that means basically he's not getting on the books until roughly after December. So that means he's not going until next year. So right now they're not going to do anything. The NFL can't do anything until he actually is, convicted of or guilty or whatever. Zay Jones, it was a personal conduct type thing. That happened, I think, last year. So that's why it's happening to him this year and Rice not this year, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So, so to go back to Rafi's question, he brought up, I get a 2 and I get Garrett for a 7th. And my other is Mostert or Flowers for a 6th, or just only do one keeper.
Oh, keeper trades. Ooh.
I think what he's asking is he gets to keep 2. He can keep 1 or 2 players.
He gets to keep 1 or 2 for.
I wouldn't keep Mostert for a 6th.
No,
that's above his ADP. You could draft him a round or 2 later.
I would have Garrett at the 7th.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Garrett's going off the board at the 1-2 turn. He's going off his wide receiver 7-8 right now. So I would take Wilson at the 7th.
Yeah. So let's move on to Ravens real quick and start wrapping this show up. We got Ravens goes, who's a better RB2 in half-point PPR? Ramondre Stevenson or Raheem Mostert?
Yeah, I literally got to do a rankings check on this one.
Honestly, this is a tough one. I'm going to lean Stevenson, and it's really just because he has no one else, really.
Yeah, that's my lean. The only thing I will say as a caveat is Miami's going to score a shitload of points. So
better offense. So
there's going to be more opportunity, but it's like, you're right. Like, there is nobody else in New England.
Yeah, he's got nobody behind him other than Antonio Gibson.
If it was full, I would take Mostert. In half,
yeah.
I'll probably take Stevenson because I think with Achane and the receivers in Miami, Stevenson and Mostert probably have similar rushing touchdowns this season.
Yeah.
This is one where I think the it's not fool's gold. It's fine to, I think it's fine process question to say, hey, Mostert's on the significantly better offense, just bet on it.
Yeah.
But remember, we loved Ramondre, guys. We
I liked
loved him.
Ramondre.
Remember when him in the 10th round was like every fantasy analyst was all about that. In fact, we're like 10th, dude. I'm getting him. I'm taking him in the 9th. You'll never find him in the 10th where he's supposed to go because I'm going to take him early. And then the Patriots sucked, and then things happened. I don't think Ramondre is bad at football. Sometimes you look worse on the field when your team's not that great, but he's still a very competent pass catcher.
They gave him a 3-year deal.
I remember watching him on the field. He played good football. He seemed to have a lot of skill and a lot of vision. He could get an extra 2 yards when it wasn't there. Yeah. He's had some sick runs where it's like, dude, you can take a beating and keep it. He's got that slipperiness like Kamara, where he can't make somebody fully miss, but he can just slip on by. I think he's quite good. I don't love that the guy behind him is also a pass catcher.
Well, but see, I
also think they're both going to be pretty reasonable.
I think
Mostert's the league winner, right? Ramondre is not a top 12 guy ever for me. Where Mostert's done it before, but in the general range of outcomes, I think I'm taking Ramondre most of the time. If my league is hyper competitive though, and I don't love my draft slot, I'm going with Mostert as the Hail Mary. This can rescue my draft if he hits a ceiling outcome. So if your draft sucks, go with the Hail Mary. If you're drafting well, just don't lose your draft. Take Ramondre. I think that's my nuanced take.
Yeah. I mean, couldn't have said it better. I mean, right now, Ramondre is the guy. Antonio Gibson isn't really a threat, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right now, Mostert does have a chain to kind of eat into what he does. It's part of their offense. He also has other guys like Waddle and Hill. They all got to eat. I mean, Ramondre is the only guy that I can possibly think of other than, the couple of guys that you guys like with Baker and Polk over there in New England.
I'm just going to be so bad, though.
They're just going to be really bad.
They're going to be so bad.
I think they'll flash a game or two later in the year.
Yeah.
But the season culmination is not going.
They'll go down. They'll go beat Miami to knock them out of a playoffs. But you know what I mean? Yeah. Like they'll do something. They'll do something stupid like that. Like they'll lose to the Jaguars like 80-0, and then they'll go beat Miami the next week.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Wicked goes. I think the Chargers will have some of the harshest growing pains, but could very interesting how they approach running backs the next draft. Of course, we're going to see how that turns out now that Jim is there long term. Rafi goes, oh, crap. I think I can get Chuba for a last round pick since he was a waiver pick. I think that's my second keeper lock. And he laughs. Yeah, don't keep Chuba.
Please don't keep Chuba.
Yeah, please don't.
Don't waste a keeper on that.
Then we got Wicked going. Maybe Aaron Jones gave Dobbins some of the juice when they were rehabbing together. Maybe.
It could be vice versa.
Maybe Dobbins
ran for a touchdown on one leg. I've never seen someone do that shit before.
Maybe Dobbins needs to go in that dark room therapy or whatever Aaron Rodgers does for a week.
Mushrooms and enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wicked goes, Ty Chandler, ultimate handcuff.
I like Ty Chandler this season. I'll be honest. I've actually been taking him in a few spots recently just because it's more, let me just say this. It's more of a negative Aaron Jones than a pro Ty Chandler thing.
100%.
Because I just don't have any faith like James Conner, right? Like Mostert. Sorry, I know Victoria's going to be mad at me for saying this, but like A-Chan, like these guys miss games. And that's okay. They're going to miss games. Aaron Jones is going to give you one of those crazy 120 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then he's not going to play for 4 weeks. And you've got Sam Darnold as the quarterback for the season. I know KOC wants to chuck it a ton, but like Ty Chandler was really competent last year. I know he beat Alexander Madison out of the job, which is sort of like taking candy from a baby because apparently Alexander Madison is just not good at football anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like Ty Chandler. And again, it's mostly a negative Aaron Jones thing. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's not bad. I don't love that he has less standalone value than I would like compared to some of the guys around him. And I'm thinking specifically Jaleel McLaughlin goes off the board later than him and has more standalone value. So I think I do like he should be labeled as what he is, which is a handcuff. I think people get a little too carried away about like Aaron Jones isn't a workhorse anymore. He's going to, Ty Chandler's going to get on the field a lot. I think he'll get on the field a little bit, but I don't love his standalone value personally in an offense that has a lot of question marks. Honestly, should just chuck it up to Jade every time,
Yeah. I mean, he didn't even go drafted in this particular mock. So just to give you a perspective. So we got Z Money in the house. What's going on, Z Money? Great to have you here. I hope we can help you with this question. He has the 10th pick in a 10-man PPR. Any advice? This is his first year. Well, congratulations. I'm glad that you're getting into this. So what do you guys have to give him as advice for the 10th pick?
I mean, it's Kendall and I'll probably agree on this. I'll do it in 10 seconds. You need to come away with a wide receiver one, the best you can get in that spot. You're looking at Puka, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., those kinds of players. I'm assuming that this is a single quarterback league and not Superflex. Okay. So in single quarterback, you need to get the best wide receiver you can get there at the turn. And then I would come away with one of the hero RBs.
Yeah.
If you
don't make the mistake
don't
of
make the
passing
mistake.
on RB.
Yep. If you can get JT, if you can get Saquon, then I would grab one of those two guys. They should both be available at the turn.
Don't overthink it. They're both elite.
And if you're nervous about it, take the running back first, because I do think that tier of wide receiver
flat
is pretty flat.
Not until you get into the mid to early second round. And that's in 12 teams. So in this, it's definitely flat for sure. Yeah.
And it's also based on how many wide receivers too. But in this particular case, you're on the turn. Just
get an elite tight end.
Get one of each, and then you can pretty much, make the rest as you go. I mean, you have probably an opportunity for a guy like AJ Brown, Puka.
Potentially.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, there's no guarantee there. But guys like AJ Brown, Marvin Harrison, Puka Nacua, Drake London, Devontae Adams.
Chris Olave, Adams will be there. Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, you have a lot of options at wide receiver. You're probably going to have less options at running back. Maybe Gibbs falls. We'll see. But it's one of those things where, if you have Jonathan Taylor there, grab him and run.
He'll be there.
That's the hope.
He'll be there. Yeah, unless your league does something funky with running backs. I would imagine Brees and Bijan go before you're on the clock, but I would safely assume Barkley will be there.
Yeah, I mean, Barkley was going to be the next one. I mean, honestly, the one thing, it's also based on the type of league. If it's 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, there's a higher probability that less running backs will be available at that point, and you'll have a little bit more room for wide receiver. But at this point, like I said, you're like both Phil and Kendall both said, take the best running back, best wide receiver.
In 10 team in particular, especially. The onesies matter a little bit more. You don't want, it's hard to win a season without winning out pretty big at one of those positions where you're at in the draft. It's going to be tough at tight end. If you get lucky, you might have like a Kincaid fall to you, but he's pretty hype and most people know he won't get back to you. If I'm looking
just go take Jake Ferguson in the 7th and you'll have a league winner.
There you go. Hey, honestly, let's go wait a little bit on it and hope he gets to the 7th and grab him there. That's another, good thing to go with.
I think we're saying hero RB. Just go hero RB. Yeah. Try to take at least one elite onesie. Don't fade them both. You're going to get value. You're going to get value no matter what in 10 team. Yeah.
100%. So Z Money, thank you so much. I hope you, if you haven't already, make sure you
send us your draft when you're finished with it, man. We would love to break it down for you. Phil does a really nice job breaking down drafts. Sometimes I'll do that with him. We would love to do that with you, Z Money. Throw us a link or a screenshot to that when you're done with it, man.
So he says AJ Brown or Garrett Wilson.
AJ Brown.
I'm leaning AJ Brown.
Yeah. I don't think that's particularly close.
Yeah, they're. I think the teardrop is AJ Brown, and and Wilson is that next. He's the next guy on that tier. After
Rafi likes Wilson over Garrett. He's being cheeky.
Yeah, too cheeky.
So I think Wilson's the better wide receiver. Don't get me wrong. I think he's more talented, but there's so many more ways his season doesn't go right than it goes wrong.
Kellen Moore, I like Kellen Moore being the offensive coordinator out there. It focuses on that guy. So I just like it. And you can go with the whole Rodgers thing if you want, but I'm not buying it unless I already own him.
Me and Phil were talking about it the other day. It's the Jets defense. Phil, you were making me and Mike go through it. And when we did the projections, it was just like there's so many games where
it's also Kellen Moore.
Yeah, I like Kellen Moore.
That offense could be spicy.
63% pass ratio over expectation. Like that's
it's too high, and it always goes to the X.
And you just lost your center. Like I get it. You've got the big, fancy, shiny running back, and I mean, you got a
You're going to get him
Cadillac truck
involved
back there,
Yeah.
but they're gonna you just traded for Dotson. They're gonna throw it, man.
Yeah, they're
gonna throw it.
So Victorious goes, got to go with Stevenson when we were talking about the Stevenson A-Chain or the Stevenson Mostert thing, since A-Chain is going to be taking over 110% of the snaps.
I hope
Bro,
they're not playing that much, man.
I looked in my league. I don't have A-Chan. Otherwise, I was like, I wonder what Vike would like. What could I sell him for? You know what I mean? Like, how much could I get? Could I get? Like,
if you owned him, there is no way in hell I wouldn't have given you 17 offers by now.
Yeah, I know. The leagues that I have him in, I'm not in with you guys. So yeah.
The leagues I'm in, everyone watched the show and knows I'm in on HN.
Yeah, so then they all grab them.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Exactly,
now.
Oh, we do our listener league draft, and every time I remember doing the listener league draft that we did a couple of years ago, and I ended up just doing exactly opposite of what I normally like doing. Like I grabbed guys that I hated, like Lamar and a few other guys, and it didn't work out, but it was still fun. So Z Money, thank you so much. We appreciate your sub. So thank you. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, jump in. I threw my link in the chat. Kendall, throw yours. Jump in because we have our own channels. We're all part of Get Right, but yeah, jump in on our channels. Help support us as well.
Yeah, for sure. We got Wicked welcoming him and saying the spot to be at, man. Good luck on your draft. We got Rafi going, Rodgers will hyper target him like he did Adams. Yeah, probably, but he's got to stay upright and he's got to stand and hopefully be able to do that. Raven Show, he goes, oh, this is a great question. And I'm actually wondering this myself, and I'm still kind of debating this. Brian Thomas Jr. or Keenan Coleman? Can
I take both? How do
I was going to say I like both.
A path.
You know where I'm at on this one.
It's Coleman.
It's Keon Coleman. Yeah.
I like Coleman too. I mean,
now,
honestly,
better quarterback, better offense. Injury,
314 vacated targets.
Yeah.
That's all you have to say. 314 vacated.
314. I thought it was 241.
You told me it was 314.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I just sent them all in.
Either way, it's 47 or 48 or 49.
Matter.
It's like 40. It's almost 50% of the target share, however it breaks down. But yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He's getting all
high. It's high. It's very high.
It's very high. And I mean, honestly, we don't hate Brian Thomas Jr. at all. It's
I
just
love BTJ.
better. Yeah, honestly, I like him a lot. I
have to say this. I know the Jaguars won 42-0 or whatever the score was tonight, but
yeah.
I'm just not in on Trevor Lawrence this season. I love BTJ in Dynasty. I have shares of him. I love Keon Coleman. I have shares of him. I do see a path where BTJ is the better player long term. I do. I could see that being a realistic thing. It's hard for me this season with that many vacated targets, a potential to be Josh Allen's wide receiver 1. You got rid of Calvin Ridley in Jacksonville and you replaced him with Gabe Davis. That is a downgrade. So BTJ has the opportunity for sure.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I just have a huge issue with Trevor Lawrence and Tua getting paid like that. And they've never even they've what? The Jaguars, won one playoff game because they played the Chargers, who are historically embarrassing and blow it all the time. And the Dolphins can't win a playoff game. So it's just I'm not in. I'm out. I'm out.
I completely understand it. You're talking to a guy that, we were lucky enough to give a guy like Daniel Jones his particular contract, which is, of course, a little bit of an overpay. But at the end of the day, Jags completely overpaid with, their particular deal. So honestly, I'll take my Daniel Jones at 40 comparatively to 55, a year. So
if I had 6 leagues, though,
way.
I'm very cool with a 3-3 split because I like the upside of both of them. I think both players are good. I think our point is offense and the quarterback. Like when it's close, we're talking about tiebreakers for the most part, and we're saying, look, even if you think BTJ is the better player, I think all of us consensus agree the Bills' offense is already better and has more potential room for that to go Keon's way, even if he does nothing with it. The numbers say I think it's a slightly better bet.
And I think it's red zone. I think it's red zone targets.
Yeah, red zone.
If you really
targets,
want to
it's gonna
look
go
at a
Keon.
differentiator, because I know there's guys that love BTJ, I know there's guys that hate Coleman, and I get it. I really do. Like, look, we all sat here and said, JSN is the best prospect, and Quentin Johnston, God knows what QJ is. My point is this: Josh Allen is going to run the ball into the end zone. James Cook has 4 rushing touchdowns in his entire career, which means if they are going to pass around the goal line, it's going to be Dalton Kincaid and Keon Coleman. And Keon Coleman is a basketball player with a football body and a jump ball specialist. And that's how Mike Evans has made a living. It's how Keenan Allen has made. I mean, it's like, that's how these guys who are red zone guys, I think that's what it's going to come down to, because in Jacksonville, you do have some options around the goal line with Etienne. You could, you got Evan Ingram there. You've got some options where they may distribute those red zone targets. Whereas I think if it's not going to be a Josh Allen designed run, it's going to be pretty hyper targeted for Coleman and Kincaid in the red zone.
Yeah.
Would you Dynasty, Phil?
Yeah.
Would you trade Keon to get BTJ?
I have Coleman higher, so I need something on top.
Yeah.
You see, like long-term, like 3-4 year window. Do you?
So here's
you see Coleman has a higher.
I do.
Ceiling?
I'll be honest. I was pretty down on Coleman in the draft process.
Me too.
I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be drafting this guy. And I went back and looked at one of my drafts. I took BTJ over Coleman in one of my rookie drafts at the 202. I took him. Now I have exposure to both because I'm in, like you guys, I'm in a, well, not you, Mike, but I'm in 5,000 leagues. But I believe long-term, the contract changes things a little bit because Trevor's going to be there now.
Yeah.
I just don't see Trevor ever having the ceiling that Josh Allen has.
Nope.
And at the end of it, I think BTJ is going to be the one. I think they're both going to end up being wide receiver ones. I just project Coleman's going to have the higher ceiling if they both hit. If one of them misses, then you're screwed. That's it. You're done. Like, that's just how it goes. But if they both hit, I just think Curtis Samuel's a short-term rental. Khalil Shakir is. I mean, look, they're fine players. I have exposure to those guys. I took in one of our leagues, guys. I took Khalil Shakir. And I think in our charity league, I took Shakir late on, and I'm very excited about him for this season.
Yeah.
But they traded the Bills a couple years ago to go get Stephon Diggs because he was an alpha.
Oh, yeah.
And then they sent him away. So you've got to replace an alpha with the next alpha. So it's either Keon Coleman or he's gonna suck and they're gonna go find somebody else.
Yeah.
So to me, that's it. Whereas I even though I think BTJ is gonna be the guy in Jacksonville, Christian Kirk's been paid and he's still a good receiver and he's relevant. And Ingram 100%. Has been paid and he's got another 2 years. And Travis Etienne catches the ball. So I just see it being a more dispersed target share.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
over that 2 to 3 year window.
He's your guy, though. I mean, you're the same way I'm in on HN.
I thought you said Richardson. I was like, no. I have not gone into the camp and stuck the flag in the ground there on Coleman. I do like him a lot, but
I'm pretty sure Rasta has my pink slip ready to go. If Richardson busts, like
I have
fun knowing you guys.
Oh, if Richardson busts, I'm coming to your house for suicide prevention watch, brother. I'm gonna be there.
I'm gonna make sure
with the woosah.
Yeah. No, I like Coleman a lot. I mean, he just has the build of an X receiver and that alpha. I mean, 6'4", 215. I mean, honestly, he's the guy that I like a little bit more. I see what Phil sees in what he could be. Kirk is still there. Gabe Davis, as much as you guys want to maybe talk him down, he is somebody that will kind of absorb and get some targets. And Evan Ingram is still there, and Evan Ingram is going to get a good majority of their particular workload. I mean, he got, I think, 34% of their targets last season, or roughly that number. I mean, he was, I think it was 149 targets that he got last season. So, I mean, honestly, Brian Thomas is a very talented wide receiver. It's just going to take him a minute to get to where he needs to be. I don't think it's this season. And like you said, Trevor Lawrence does not have the ceiling for what Josh Allen could give Keon Coleman. So honestly, Keon, I think, is stepping into the one role right away. I think they're trying to put him right there. Curtis Samuel is definitely a rental. He is not somebody that is going to be your number one. If you think in any world that Curtis Samuel is the number one for the Buffalo Bills, we need to talk. I mean, we need to really get you some help, because I'm telling you now, Curtis Samuel he's had 2 healthy seasons in his career.
And he's hurt right now.
He's
banged up right now.
Let's just call, a spade a spade. I mean, it is what it is. At this point, Shakir is going to be viable. He's going to be involved. He's probably 4 or 5 on that pecking order. They're still going to use Dawson Knox too. They're going to be in 12 personnel 12 personnel most of the time, because they will involve Dawson Knox. He's still there. He's still a good tight end. Kincaid's probably a little bit better because he's a little bit more of an inline guy, and they can bring him out wide. So, I mean, honestly, we got to turn down the hype a little bit on Curtis Samuel a little bit. I don't want to bring up Coleman too much, but I want him to get his day in the sun. I mean, he definitely needs it.
Look, the 10,000-foot view is we're talking about redraft here. We got into a dynasty
100%.
conversation realistically. Yeah. The important thing, the long-term runs on both could be pretty far apart. And so getting it right in dynasty is a significantly more of a risk reward situation, and getting it right should take some analysis, right? However, we're talking about redraft. The bigger takeaway, especially if you do multiple, redrafts, we're doing a tournament right now. So we're talking a lot of game theory. That round has a lot of talent. That's still the round that McConkey and Addison go in. We like a lot of players in that round. The reason that I think me and Phil have talked about this before, and I think, Mike, I know you tend to be, you like hero and superhero RB. You just tend to be a little bit RB heavy in general at the top. Yeah. What that unlocks this year, and why I like it in particular, and I think me and Phil have talked about it, is that it gives you that rounds 4 through 8 have 4 through 7 in particular for me. 8 still, maybe if something falls, are just chalk. Everything feels great. I don't want to take a running back there because
it's all wide receivers
are these guys. And if I can take a Ladd, a BTJ, or a Keon, I want exposure to all of them, but the bigger mistake is not taking any of them. Get exposure to them because they could be they're good floor, good role, has league winning upside in how they could outproduce their ADP in a big way. But it's less about this guy over that guy and more about find a way to build so you can hit that range more consistently. Yeah. And you're going to have exposure to what we feel is a range that's going to pay off its ADP.
Yeah. 100%. Now, I like Wicked's question here because this is actually one I was thinking about a couple days ago. Do you guys foresee any wide receiver in this particular draft class having a bust season like Quentin Johnston?
Can I still just say Quentin Johnson?
No. Let's throw the rookie. The rookie
bust
class
harder this year than he did last year.
Shit, well,
I have one guy
because you'll be playing in the the Rocks League, the XF. No, not the XF, whatever they call it. Yeah, he's gonna be playing on that league. Yeah,
I have one guy in mind. I'll give you guys a minute to think about yours. My guy, if I had to guess in any shape, way, or form, it feels like Xavier Worthy.
Yep,
I could be wrong, and I'll be the first one to admit when I am. But to be honest, he's a track guy. He's a 9 route, which essentially is what Quentin Johnston was, and just bigger. And that's the problem. I mean, if he can outrun everybody, fantastic. I mean, good for him if he can outrun those safeties when everybody knows that they're going to just put a 2-deep shell, and that's what they're going to do. I'm at the point here where he's not somebody that I think is going to last long, and I'm just out on Xavier Worthy. I think he's somebody I'm willing to be wrong about. So,
I think he'd bust his ADP. I don't think he's going to be a full NFL bust, but I do think based on where he's going,
he's in the 7th round in Superflex, which means he's 5th round at least in regular. So
there's a lot of range of outcomes where Jalen Polk is just a better NFL player. That's where I think
Coleman's.
But I don't think he's going to bust. If the question is like QJ, I don't think he busts like.
Oh, I like this.
He is so far and away a different caliber of player, and I think just to put some respect in Worthy's name, even though he is a twig that runs fast, he's a very talented twig that runs fast. QJ, I never liked a lot of his film, to be honest. And I looked at Worthy, and I'm like, for how small he is, shoot, I got to start paying attention. I don't see a range of outcomes where he busts that hard.
Worthy's very important to the Chiefs because he unlocks Hollywood, Rashee Rice, and Travis Kelce underneath. He opens up space for Pacheco, And look, here's the truth about Worthy. He's gonna catch some long ones. It's going. I mean, I've got Worthy every league. I think that I have Patrick Mahomes in best ball. I think I have Xavier Worthy or Rashee Rice or both, because I don't have to start him. I can figure out what I want to do. I don't have to figure anything out. I can just throw it on there. And best. So I mean, so it's like in week 9. I'm just making this up, but in week 9, when he catches 3 passes for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns, it's a great best ball week winner. So I struggle with Xavier Worthy because of the route running. I struggle with it because I know Victorious, and he says, you guys already know my answer to this question. At least Phil does. It's AD Mitchell. Victorious hates AD Mitchell, but I'm going to bring this up because it is important to Xavier Worthy. AD Mitchell ran 0.03 slower than Xavier Worthy did at the combine. And Xavier Worthy was not being talked about as a first-round player. There was questions, would he even go in the second round prior to that combine? NFL scouts, the people that do this for a living, and they get it wrong. We know they get it wrong, but they get it right a whole lot more than they get it wrong. They literally said, this guy is not worth a first or second round pick. He is not. He's a day 2 pick in the 3rd round. I'm okay. Mike, I'm like you. I'm okay being wrong. I think the kid ran himself into an amazing situation.
Yeah, good for him.
I think he's going to hang around the league. I think he's going to be around the Chiefs for probably the duration of the rookie contract. But go turn on the camp film and watch the kid get thrown around like a freaking pinball machine.
Yeah, and that's against his own
freaking team. Yeah, it's his own
like,
team.
Come on. He's going to be going against guys that don't care about him and are going to hurt him. I'm sorry. Like, and I'm not saying they're trying to target him or anything like that, but he's not the build that you would be particularly, thinking he's going to survive. I mean, he's 5'11", 165. Yeah, he's going to run fast. I mean, I'd rather see a guy that's, at the size of, one of the tight ends running, close to the 4.4. To me, that means he's faster than Worthy if he was his size. I mean, geez. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I'm just out. I understand why everyone is so high on him because he's attached to Patrick Mahomes. And like you said, everything you said about his best ball, but, and that's fine. You guys can compare him all you want. Like in this case, ever heard of, Deshaun Jackson? Yeah, I have. And he was good for a couple of years and then he kind of flamed out. His rookie season, I don't even know. I have to double check his rookie season.
Like for my sake, because Phil knows how much Worthy I own at this point. He can't bust because I won't survive it. I don't think he's gonna.
Look. Quentin Johnston.
Bought in.
Quentin Johnston is. I don't want to say irrelevant because he's not. We could be wrong. He could have a better season than we're expecting him to. But I just put it this way: if Quentin Johnston doesn't have a solid season this year. If he doesn't finish inside the top 36 wide receivers, I don't know that he survives his rookie contract. And they may trade him, they may cut him, they may send him out. You know what I mean? Like he may end up somewhere else, but I just don't see a path where he can redeem himself. I think Worthy is a better player. I think Worthy is going to be fine.
He's not Troy Franklin. Like for me, like he's not Troy Franklin. Like for me, like Troy Franklin's like the much bigger bust than like a Worthy in terms of like talent.
Troy Franklin he was drafted later though. He's not in the. He's not in the
4th or 5th. He was a 4th or he was a day 3 pick. He was 4th or 5th round.
Yeah,
I think.
He's not in the same. Right. He's not even in the same echelon as someone like Winston Johnson or Xavier.
No, because we're talking about first round picks here. So if you're talking about first round,
Nelson Aguilar type guys, yeah,
right.
Is the real answer to the question? No, the answer is no. We don't see somebody busting like QJ. This class is just too stupid.
This class is better.
Much better.
We have to reach into the second round to start finding busts, and honestly, like compare like. Leggett could bust, right?
I was gonna say
Leggett or QJ in the same draft.
Somebody put Leggett in the chat, and like, look, all of the metrics suggest, and I know a bunch of people here, listen to the Fantasy Footballers and other podcasts, like we all do, but the metrics suggest that this guy did nothing for 4 years and had one monster season, which is fine. I'm not taking away his production, but like, I was a 4-year 2-sport college athlete. When I was 22 years old as a senior, my body, my physical abilities were very different than when I was 18 years old.
Yep.
And the 18 years old, I played college soccer and ran track. The 18-year-olds that were trying to bump me off of a ball could not move me because I had 4 years in the weight room.
Yep.
So if you're talking about a football player whose literal second job is to go to the weight room because that is the secondary part of their uniform is their body. Yeah. 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds trying to play press coverage against a 22-year-old man. Leggett should put up those kind of numbers. The problem is that everybody in the NFL is a man who's been lifting for years and years in a professional environment. So,
Yeah.
and we don't love Bryce Young and we don't love the Panthers offense and it's messy. So I like the idea of what Leggett could do, but it scares me.
I say, Phil, you're getting a lot of. You're going to have so much fuel for your show. Like the games, you're going to be able to throw me and Mike's way.
Dude, it's going to be
great.
Let
us dig it out. Yeah,
I know you guys missed last night. I was
Thursday.
bummed. Yeah, I was bummed you guys missed last night. I had some good
Yeah.
ones in last night's show too. Actually,
I needed a break.
If you guys want these spicy takes where we go into it, Phil takes a step back and makes me and Mike really get at each other's throats. But if you want to see these spicy takes, let's really go at it. Check out Phil's show on Thursday because we will definitely be going into.
So I wanted to get back. I wanted to, because I looked this up. While you guys were talking, I had to look this up. And Mile High, it's great to see you, brother. It's all good. This is good. You know, I like when we get to actually like question ourselves and get a little bit into what we, about each player. So you mentioned before Deshaun Jackson, and I brought up the kind of that his rookie season wasn't. I didn't think it was anything special. It wasn't. If you look at his rookie season with I believe it was the Eagles, if memory serves me. Yeah, Eagles. If you look at him compared to this past year, he would have finished as the wide receiver 34 or 37. Sorry. He would have finished as the wide receiver 37. Do we see that for someone like Worthy? Yeah.
I think he beats that.
You think he beats that?
Yeah, I think he finishes higher. I think he finishes because look, I think that he's going to finish inside the top 36 because I think he's going to catch some. He's going to have a couple weeks that just put him there.
Okay.
I think he's going to have a couple weeks where he goes off. I do. That's why I have him in best ball. Because if you're a defensive coordinator, you have to pick how you want to lose to the Chiefs. Do you want Kelsey to beat you? Do you want, Rashee, right? Like, so it's like, okay, who's going to beat us today? Because if you take away in a too high cover 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you opening up? You're opening up the entire underside of the field. You want Kelsey against a linebacker? You know what I mean? So it's like, I see a world where it's like, pick your poison. So if I'm saying, okay, I know Kelsey, I've seen him for whatever, 10 years or 12 years, however freaking long he's been in the league.
Yeah.
And now look, Pacheco's going at like the 3rd round right now. So from a real life perspective, he is the RB1 there. So obviously he's, going to be game planned for.
Yeah.
I'm a defensive coordinator. I'm saying, let's make sure that we don't lose to the guys we know can beat us. Let's take a chance. And if the rookie beats us, and he's going to win. He is faster than everybody else. He's going to score 60, 70, 80-yard touchdowns because he can run that far and Mahomes can throw it that far. So I don't think he'll volume his way to a wide receiver 3 season. I think it's like a really, I know people are going to hate me for saying this. Yeah. It's boom bust, but it's like a really nice version of Gabe Davis.
Yeah. Oh, no.
That's what it is. That's my opinion on it. It's like a,
he's a smaller Gabe Davis.
Yeah.
And
but like,
honestly,
that's what Gabe Davis does. He goes, 3 for 13 and 4 for 28 and 3 for 26 and then 4 for 133 and 2. Like that's what he does. That's what Worthy's going to do.
Yeah, and Mile High is correct. I mean, honestly, that's
a lot.
Yeah,
that's literally I was just saying. Yeah, so it's like if you're going to take away Worthy, that's what you're giving up. Okay, great. We took Worthy away. He can't beat us, but now I got to deal with these 2 guys.
Kelsey's the sneaky problem here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
the answer to the question is go draft Travis Kelsey for last ride off into the sun.
ADP just passed
for
up
his last
Laporta, I think, in
I saw
posted redraft stuff, and I'm like, oh, it's over because Kelsey was my value after Laporta for a while in redraft.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
I just see for me, the guys that I want in Kansas City is Rice and Kelsey. I don't want.
Agreed.
I mean, until Hollywood's healthy, I don't really, want him, and Worthy just doesn't do anything for me. So, I know that there's a bunch of other stuff in the chat. I'm sorry, guys. We need to wrap this up. It is getting very late.
I think we got shows every day
show.
of the week in season, so there'll be plenty of us.
We will be around. We are going to be here 7 days a week starting September 6th. So make sure you guys keep an eye out. I already kind of went through the schedule, but like I said, 7 days a week. Just keep an eye out. Put your notifications on. Make sure you guys are subbed and liking the videos as well. You'll get you guys. The more you guys do that, it puts our videos out there. It puts our live out there to get more people involved, like Z Money, who joined us today. So thank you so much, Z Money, for your sub. Make sure you guys are subbing to Phil's channel as well, and also Kendall's channel. I know he'll throw his in there in a few minutes. But make sure you guys check out both of these guys over here. I mean, come on. This is what you get in there. I mean, these guys, A1 steak sauce. I love it. These guys are fantastic. Oh, there we go. Giving it to you from everywhere. So guys,
all chat on there, Kendall.
Yeah, that's why I left. But otherwise, thanks for everybody for joining. Also, I just want to point out before we leave, make sure you guys sign up for Underdog Fantasy. We were saying it before. One of the best ways to get ready for your drafts that are coming up. Get into a best ball league for $3 with Underdog. I mean, it's $3 and it gives you an opportunity to be involved with guys that actually care about their league. It's almost sometimes better than a mock draft. Use promo code GetRight when you guys sign up. They will help you with half of your deposit. So if you put in 10, they'll give you 5, all the way up to 1,000. So make sure you guys are checking that out. That is their new promotion. So make sure you guys are doing that and signing up. Use promo code GetRight. All right, boys and girls, I really do appreciate it. Look at this. We get thank you, handsome facial hair gentlemen. I mean, damn, I got to grow mine out. Winning stream. We really do appreciate it. So thank you all for joining us. Make sure you guys check us out on Monday for the results of our mock draft. We will be letting you guys know who the top 3 were and who the finalists are going to be for our particular, mock or tournament and our mock of champions. So stay tuned for all that. So for everybody here at Get Right, we got our 2 boys here, Phil and Kendall. Thank you for joining me tonight. I really do appreciate you guys coming out. For Rasta, for Frank, for Dustin. Really appreciate all you guys. Oh, and Tycoon. I miss Tycoon. All right, boys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day, morning, whenever you guys.
Good luck in your drafts this weekend. This is we're in it. We're in it now, fellas. Good luck to everybody.
Screenshots. Drop to your draft screenshots. We will rank them. Yep. We'll throw some stuff on them. We're crazy about it. Let's talk about it in our sleeper channel.
And if you aren't already following these 2 on X, make sure you guys do. They are the extra point. It's under at P Ruskin, and then we have Kendall. It's under at Kendall
TFFT.
There we go.
Check out any of my videos. Look at the description. You'll see all of our stuff.
Yeah, all of our stuff is in the description, so make sure you guys are looking at that as well. Also, join our sleeper channel. I know I already kind of said goodbye, but make sure you guys check out our sleeper channel. It's really good, and got these 2 in there. Got a bunch of other people as well. So make sure you guys check us out there. All right, for everybody, I'm wrapping this up. I'll see you guys soon. Peace. Take care. Peace.
Wanted to write fantasy is the play. Marking nothing, but I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided.